Hello,
Hello.
and welcome to Hint Play. I'm Fishy, and I'll be your games master today. And I warn you now that we are playing a game none of us has ever played before, with frankly too little preparation. So if it all goes horribly wrong, I apologise now to EN Publishing. Uh, yep, you see, looking in the corner, we are playing Strontium Dog, published by EN Publishing and licensed from Rebellion, based on the comic characters originally appearing in Star-Lord and then later in 2000 AD. Hint Plays is a channel for RPGs and tabletop games from Hobby Gamers International. We run games on a 3-week rotation usually, with a rotating cast of players and games masters. This is a special. We're doing this partly because Drutt is a big Strontium Dog fan, and it's Drutt's birthday later this week. So this is Drutt's birthday stream, which will be taking place today and then finishing off next Sunday if all goes well. Strontium Dog, for those who don't know it, is a game about mutant bounty hunters, and indeed a comic about mutant bounty hunters in the future, in the late 22nd century, I start remembering the dates correctly. Yeah, it originally was a completely separate thing, but then was rolled into the Judge Dredd universe after some crossover stories that took place in the comics, where Johnny Alpha, the main character in Strontium Dog, went back to Mega City 1 in the time of Judge Dredd, which, with obviously fun ensued. The characters are all mutants who, due to prejudice against mutants, are largely forced into bounty hunting as a career because no one will particularly let them do anything else. Their official title is Search Destroy Agents, abbreviated obviously to SD agents, and that is they're commonly referred to as Strontium Dogs because their mutations were largely induced by strontium radiation during the many wars that took place on Earth in the late 21st. In fact, I think all the way from the late 20th in the Judge Dredd timeline. Um, there's been a lot of nuclear war in the Judge Dredd world because the war that created the Strontium Dogs takes place after Judge Dredd, and yet Judge Dredd, the megacity, is surrounded by the cursed Earth, which was created by nuclear wars, which took place before Judge Dredd. So, as you can see, there's been several nuclear wars. It's a very optimistic view of the future. With me today, I have got Nightblight's Drutt and Molyetsu, who really don't know what they're doing either, and don't particularly know their characters because they were created by me, with the exception of Drutt's character.
Yes, Drutt is
Nevertheless,
refamiliarising herself with her character, and now that Drutt has a microphone.
I will allow them to introduce themselves and at least tell you the name of their character, even if they don't know much else about them. So, Knight, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Nightbites, and today I will be playing Duncan Cover, who doesn't have much time for the living. Occasionally, some may say, they can see completely dead.
Cool.
And Drutt.
Hello, I am Drutt. This is my fault. I am playing Lucifer Lopez, who is a veteran of the Mutant Rebellion and fought in the Mutant Uprising. She may also be a time traveller and seems to have this issue with aging. She doesn't bother.
And Molière.
Hello, I am playing Trip Hazard, an agent who dresses to impress and has flashy computer skills that may or may not have gotten into trouble at some point.
Okay. So,
I
the
need
background
long coats.
to where and why you are.
Where and why?
Yeah. We're pretty much... sorry about this. Apparently, I have to make choices from Microsoft in order to get at the plot.
Okay.
So, give me my notebooks. Right, okay, let's do this on a different device, since that one has logged me out of OneNote and won't show me the plot.
Fishy
dear.
has genuinely
This-
lost the plot.
This is going well, isn't it? Excellent advertisement for us.
It's not us that's the problem. Okay, that came out
No,
wrong.
it's me.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely Windows. When in doubt, blame Windows.
Yes.
Or the dogs.
There we go, a bounty on the Mutiny.
Yay.
So, during a recent investigation and arrest, Lucifer Lopez discovered information on the next target for the infamous pirate Neckbeard and his crew of reprobates on their interstellar pirate ship, the Mutiny.
God.
Realizing that bringing in an entire ship was too much for one Strontium Dog, she has gathered a small crew of trusted colleagues with whom she has worked before, which include Duncan Cover, Trip Hazard, and also Lo and Behold, whose player is unfortunately not here at the moment. So Lowen will be a bit quiet for the first part of the game, and will effectively be an NPC. So Lowen will do what the other players decide.
Yes.
Sorry.
Could be unpleasant for poor child.
Oh, God. Fish, does my all-seeing eye always show?
I'm going to assume your all-seeing eye only shows when you're using it.
Excellent. I can have it push its way out through my forehead. Cool.
Yeah, if you really want it to, that's totally in keeping with.
Sorry, I just
Something
noticed
very
that
much
I only had my mutation written down as just mutation. I just read the back and went, oh, yes.
Yeah, Drutt. When you create a character in this game, you roll for what your mutation is. And if you roll a cosmetic mutation, then you get that cosmetic mutation and you can roll again. Because the point behind being a player character is that you have a useful mutation, whereas 99% of mutants just have some weird cosmetic thing or something that incapacitates them in some way.
Yeah.
But the player characters are characters with mutations that do something for them. There is the possibility, however, if you roll the right thing, of instead of getting a mutation, getting a d6 mutations. And if you are Drutt, you roll this, and then you roll a 6. So,
In my defence,
Lucifer is very mutated.
Lucifer is very, very mutated. Lucifer has infinite youth, wings, an all-seeing third eye in her forehead, and echolocation.
Okay, now are the wings functional or are they just like little
She can
tiny...
fly. No, she can
there's-
fly. She's got bat wings.
Oh,
There is a limit to how far she can fly.
Yeah.
okay.
But she does have limited flight.
Yes. I actually managed to roll bat wings and echolocation completely separately.
That's magnificent.
That's awesome.
They just and infinite youth. I'm just going to buy her some plastic fangs.
So, having gathered your crew together,
Yep.
Lucifer then went to speak to the owners and master of the Errant Trade, the ship which she has been told will be Neckbeard's next target.
Yep.
In fairly typical fashion, because nobody likes mutants, they paid no attention to her and told her to get lost. So instead, our intrepid crew of bounty hunters have stowed away, smuggling themselves on board into the tertiary cargo hold within crates.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The ship has now jumped from its origin port where you got on board to the system where it is going, dropped out of hyperspace and immediately been attacked. From a combination of sound vibrating through the hull and the reaction of the ship's own systems, you are now reasonably certain that the Errant Trade has been boarded by pirates from the Mutiny and have now,
Excellent.
therefore, released yourselves from the cargo containers that you've stowed away in. So, you're in the Errant Trade's tertiary cargo storage. You know that there is an individual bounty on Neckbeard.
Right.
And a collective bounty on his crew. The more of the crew that you bring in, the higher the bounty. If you can capture the entire crew, they're worth about the same amount as Neckbeard is.
Right.
More importantly, though, you know there is an even bigger reward for the return of the Mutiny, which was stolen by a corporation, stolen from a corporation by Neckbeard, and they want it back. So the reward for the return of the Mutiny is actually worth more than Neckbeard, though not as much as Neckbeard and his crew.
Question. Are the warrants dead or alive?
By default, in Strontium Dog, they prefer you to bring people in alive. However, from my experience of reading the comics, if they required you to bring people in alive, Johnny Alpha would have starved to death very early in his career. So I think what I'm going to say is, at least for the crew, they will. You won't get a full share for any crew that are dead, and Neckbeard certainly has a higher bounty if you bring him in alive than if you bring him in dead.
So I'm really hoping that we packed some sort of anesthetic gas that we could flood the ship with, and knock everyone out, and while we're wearing our masks, and then take over and just do. But of course, that would be a very short game.
That would be ideal. But,
I
unfortunately, you were in a bit of a hurry, and the planet that you were leaving has very strict regulations on such things.
So, Fish,
you just didn't have time to request any.
This gas bomb that I have in my inventory.
Right, yeah. Now, Drutt sorted out your inventory.
I
don't
did.
know what that does, so
Right.
I'm now worrying about what it does.
There's a reason I left the Judge Dredd. I left the rule books open. So, plot devices. Sorry, no, my apologies. They're under grenades. You have a gas bomb, if I recall correctly.
I do have
Gas
a gas
bomb throwing, yes.
Yes.
A debilitating gas cloud within the area of effect. Any victim without a sufficient way to fend off the gas, such as a mask or mutation, will begin to suffer the effects almost immediately. It inflicts 2d6 poison damage with the stun trait, plus the same damage for each round a character remains within the affected area. Unless dispersed by some other means, the gas cloud covers a 10-foot area for 1 minute before dissipating. Given that it has the stun trait and that it says debilitating, not lethal gas, I'm assuming it can't kill you.
Yeah.
It's possible that that's what the stun trait means. When I look
so
up
that's
stun,
1
I will
point
know.
towards Molly's plan. Excellent.
Yeah. I couldn't afford a pocket nuke, unfortunately. Sorry.
That's okay. Apparently, I couldn't afford a mask to wear when I dropped the gas bomb, so I'll put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
You might want to hurl it some distance away from you, just to be on the safe
Yes.
side. I believe that is a common thing with most forms of grenade, though.
Yes.
To not drop them at your own feet.
Yeah.
You've
When
not seen me play any sort of FPS game with this grenade, have you?
yeah, grenade jumping is not a thing, by the way.
I'm
Door
still
frames,
remember.
however, are.
I still remember playing Aliens with.
Neil and
think-
me.
It was you and it was you and Neil. I think Drutt leapt forward and pumped 4 grenades down the hole that the alien had just melted in the floor, and Neil immediately said, "Oh, that's a good idea," and did exactly the same thing. So, 8 grenades into a confined space on board a spaceship.
Yeah.
Not the best plan.
In other words, how I lost Sergeant Fantazan.
Yeah. And I have a feeling it may have been Night running that game.
It was.
That was ringing bells. Yes, I think it was.
It
The only
was.
people I can remember running aliens for me are you and Drutt. So logically,
You've
if
got the player.
No.
Drutt had a player character in it, then it must have been you. I
Ow.
think Drutt started early. Your first day's not till Wednesday. Drutt.
No, it's alright. I
You're
am.
not supposed to inhale the coke up your nose.
Oh no! It was the
Well,
straw.
you say you're not supposed to inhale the coke. I mean, I'm not advocating it, obviously, particularly not on Twitch. But I gather that is how it's supposed to be
Okay,
done
for a start,
It
it's
for those who
Pepsi.
do.
And for secondly, that's a metal straw, I would like to say. And I just had it end on, so I couldn't see it properly. And I stabbed myself in the face with it. Oh.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's a very pretty metal straw, though.
It is, yes. A pack of iridescent ones.
Yes. May I ask a question about my mutation?
You may.
Okay. It says toxic blob. Does that mean I
Yes,
spit them or I turn
That
into
does
them?
indeed
or...
mean that you spit
Okay.
a toxic glob.
Okay.
Let me just.
You are a
look that up for
Dilophosaurus.
you. Yeah, that's not far off. You can spit a toxic glob. This does 3d6 poison damage with a range increment of 2. So, yeah, that's sort of how Trip ended up dressing to impress. We've got a character who can spit toxic goop at people. It somehow seemed perfect that they would be suave and perfectly coiffured.
Of course. And then...
Spit the dog.
Yes. Oh.
We need a ding sound effect from somebody.
Yes!
Ooh, I used to have a hotel bell for the dogs to play with, so
Oh.
I don't think I have it anymore, though.
Oh, God. Oh, disintegrate? Oh.
What? Who
You're
has
looking at your
disintegrate?
blaster, aren't
I'm
you?
looking at my blaster, yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, you got the expensive one.
I blew most of my money on a Webley. A Webley custom blaster, which comes with multiple loadouts. Yes, you have a Webley Stormer, compact
I do.
Stormer, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
What is the compact stormer apart from a blaster of some kind?
Hey, it's a Webley, so it sounds cool.
Yeah, it
Right.
does 2d6. Heat damage.
Interesting. Although they need to be held in 2 hands, stormers were designed for close quarters combat and boarding actions.
Yeah.
SD agents and criminals both may make effective use of the weapon, though it's a particular favourite of pirates. It's essentially a shotgun that fires plasma beams and melts faces.
Yeah. This one is a pistol. Webley have created a handheld, a one-handed Stormer sidearm.
The compact stormer is the pistol version.
Yeah, it's the
Interesting.
pistol version. It's about 6 down on the equipment page. Sidearm beam. Weighs 6 pounds. It's a big old thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a plasma equivalent to the what was the pistol in Shadowrun?
Room sweeper.
The Remington
Room
Room
Sweeper.
Sweeper. That was it. Yes.
Doesn't sound like a non-lethal takedown option, says Chrono. But to give people an idea, a normal generic blaster that most people have got does a d6 plus 4. The compact Stormer does a flat 2d6.
Okay.
And costs a lot more. If I could have afforded to give someone a crackler, I would. But you didn't get much money to start with.
No, that's 1,000 credits. That's
Yes.
awful.
That would be you've mortgaged your cousin for that.
Yeah.
However, I would like Molière to notice that you have a high power blaster,
Yes.
which is 2d6 plus 2.
Ooh.
And is basically the Flash version of a blaster. It's the one with the extra big batteries.
Ooh.
Or look at the batteries on that.
Webley number 1 Mark. Oh God! Yes, it did, didn't it?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trouble is, my sleigh brain keeps kicking in when I'm looking at the various types of weapon. High power Stormer to me is something about 7 foot tall, 5 foot wide, with teeth
that's
like
one
that.
that's been played for. Yeah, it's one that's been played for a while and has
Yeah.
spent some XPs on improving their abilities.
Yes, again, couldn't really afford a napalm blister blaster. Not even saying that 3 times fast.
So
Or a thwop gun.
there are a couple of possible courses of action that you can now take, having come out of hiding on board
Okay.
the trade. You can either storm your way through the errant trade, taking out any pirates that you find, and see how many people you can catch.
Run and
Or-
gun, no.
The perhaps more sensible option is to try and sneak your way aboard the Mutiny and disable it, so that it can you can then deal with Neckbeard and his crew while putting in a call for somebody to come and collect the ship.
Logically,
If you come up with a third option, then obviously that's the one that we will go with,
Yeah.
because that's always the way it works. The GM comes up with 2 plans that the players might use, and they pick plan C.
well, I was just thinking, logically, if the Mutiny can waylay us, that presumably means it's got something along the lines of a tractor beam, which means that we could use that to tow the ship back if it's too badly damaged.
It's more common. I mean, tractor beams are a thing, yes,
Yes, I know.
but it's equally common in space piracy to simply throw enough fire in the area around the ship that it cowers and hides and surrenders.
Okay.
We're not entirely sure which happened in this case. There were some loud bangs and some ship shake, but that could be near warning shots, or that could be the tractor beam.
Right.
Hard to tell from inside a box in tertiary storage.
I'm just getting petty now.
I'm assuming that there are no data ports in the storage area where a Trip could hack in and find out what the situation is. How we
There
validate.
probably is, in fact.
Mhm.
But there's a
It
big
makes
but
sense
in
to
front of
me. It makes sense to me that storage on these starships, you've got to be able to access manifests,
Yeah.
things like that, while you're on board. So there's probably a port somewhere that will. Have I got the movement locked at the moment?
You have.
Because
So that means I need to approve movement.
Sorry.
Let me find the token. There we go. Fortunately, there is just a toggle button that I can press, so you should be able to
Right.
move your characters around freely now.
This is
And
an
look
upper
at-
level?
And look at the impressive. Yep, that's an upper level there.
Okay.
And you can now look at the impressive line of sight features of Fantasy Grounds Unity.
oh, cool.
I'm just scoping out the...
Yeah, some of the lighting doesn't seem to have worked quite how I thought it would do, but nevertheless, the line of sight is basically working. I think it's the first game we've played that was using it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's new to the screen.
Can I ping and echolocate the entire room?
You can. I assume this is largely just to be sure that you're the only people in it.
Yes. Ideally. And I am willing to look up echolocation.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at what your echolocation actually does.
Yeah, because it was. Was
You
it,
use sound to orientate yourself. As long as sound can be created and you're not overloaded by sound, you can locate everything within 30 feet, regardless of light conditions.
and
Okay.
doesn't Lauren have thermo?
Lauren has
And
thermal vision.
Lauren has thermal vision, yes. So can see heat sources.
Which again.
So yeah,
may not-
you're not going to find anything particularly interesting in this room. Part of the reason that you arranged for your cargo to go into tertiary storage is because that was going to be there for... It's literally just an extra space that you've effectively paid up front for 4 boxes, 4 small crates, just big enough to contain you guys, to be shipped, posted essentially to the planet
Yeah.
that trade was going to anyway.
I will look at the outside of the box and wonder why we're apparently being shipped as frozen naughty sausages. Quantity 5,000.
Now, see, now we're crossing over with Rogue Trooper, which is another game in this series. of
Oh.
naughty sausages.
God.
Oh.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh boy. Okay, is there up here any, or are there up here any ports?
Right, I am going to say yes, there are. I think it's not unreasonable to assume that just just maps south of where you are now standing,
Uh-huh.
there is a chair and what looks like a desk. So I am going to assume that there is a computer there that is used for accessing the ship's manifest and other such features.
Yaha.
Okay.
Okay, Trip.
I shall head over to.
I'll get out of your way. I love this.
Thank you.
Right, so
Eh,
This is so
our
cool.
first experience of the actual game system
Yep.
for Strontium Dog. This is using the What's Old is New system from EN Publishing, which looks like a fun system. It's the first time we've played it, but it looks like a fun system. I think in parts it's perhaps slightly over-engineered, but I'll reserve judgment on that until we've actually played it properly. One thing it does do extremely well is it's very good, has very good narrative character creation. So in keeping with things like, say, Mechton, Cyberpunk, The Witcher, and other Arthur games, which gives you a life path, or with games like Traveller or Twilight 2000, which build your character up through careers, through terms in careers. This one works along those lines. Each character, these are grade 5 characters, which are starting characters, and that means that they have been through 5 careers. One origin career, which is like raised in the ghetto or street rat.
Yep.
And then 4 other careers, which detail their background. To give us an example of the way this works, let's just run through Trip's background quickly. Trip's origins are upper crust, then they were an employee for 3 years before being outed as a mutant and joining the Strontium Dogs using the score to settle recruitment option. So they joined the SD agency with a goal of getting someone in particular. It took 2 years for them to do that. Then they became a rookie or they spent 2 years getting that person and then became a rookie SD agent. And then for 3 years, then an SD agent for 6 before arriving here. I love the way that works because it gives you a really good feel for who your character is. You can sort of build up a story in your mind as you go through each of those careers. And those of you in Fantasy Grounds playing the game, you can find your careers in the personal tab of your character sheet, and that will list how many years you spent in each one and what you were doing for that time.
Yes.
As you go through, those careers will give you modifiers to your attributes. So rather than being like a game like D&D, for example, where you randomly roll your attributes, everything starts at a base of 3 and is then modified for your species and any careers that you have taken, plus sometimes exploits or exploits. I'm not sure which is the correct pronunciation of that word, because both actually work. Exploits are kind of like feats from 3rd edition D&D. They either add something that your character can do or give you a bonus to something that you can do anyway. And each career, as you go through, gives you a choice of one exploit per career. So I'm not sure whether it's an exploit because it changes the rules slightly in your favour, or whether it's an exploit because it's something you can do. But either one seems to work, and I don't know which one they had in mind. But either way, as you go through your careers, that then adds points to your attributes so that you end up with an array of attributes which gives you a dice pool. So looking at your character sheet, you can see you've got numbers for the attributes. In Trip's case, for example, Trip has a logic of 5, which is what I'm going to ask you to use to break into this computer. And 5 gives you 2 dice. You get 1 die if you've got a stat of 1 or 2. Then 3 to 5, I think it is 2 dice. Then 6 to whatever is 3 dice. And the further you go, the more extra points you need before you get another die. And the same scale applies to skills. So Trip has 6 ranks in computing, in computers, which is 3 dice. So if we look at the skills tab, in between rank and equipment on the skills tab is an attribute column, which is currently showing blank for everything. If I just quickly click on computers enough times to bring it round to logic, that will then calculate the total number of dice that you've got for you, so you can roll the pool. So if you look in the total column at the end on computers, it now says 5. You can either double click on the little picture of a die next to that to have it roll in the program, or you can roll 5 6-sided dice, whichever you prefer.
Okay.
And that will be rolling against a target number to see whether or not you have succeeded at breaking into this computer, which I'm going to say is a challenging task. And as a challenging task, you needed 13s to succeed. And with a 17, that is indeed a success.
Yay!
So, Trip sits down, taps away at the keyboard a little bit, looks at the password prompt that's just come up, hesitates for a moment, reaches underneath the desk, pulls out the sticky note that's under there, types in the password, and is in no time at all is navigating the ship's systems. By default, this terminal only gives you access to the manifest. However, to make me another computer's roll, which I'm going to make slightly more difficult. We'll make this a difficult roll, so you need 16s.
Haha, no.
Oh, unfortunately, that is an 11. So you have drawn a blank on breaking outside of this. You can see the ship's manifest, but you're not getting access to any other systems. What I will give you, however, is that the system is currently running slower than you think it should. So it is
Windows updates.
your opinion as a computers expert that something is slowing this network down. It's either doing something impressive, or maybe the hardware itself is actually under the effect of some sort of damage.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, and Trip will share this information with his companions.
Okay. Could they be trying to steal information from the core of the computer?
Or could they just be slowing it down so they can't get an SOS out?
Yeah, either one.
Right. I think splitting up would be a spectacularly bad idea.
Yeah.
And also, just watching Fishy's face at the word splitting up. Saw his soul leave his body and then scramble back in. So we need, I think, to find a way to the nearest airlock that's hooked up to the Mutiny.
So it seems reasonable that the Mutiny will have attached to the main airlock.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed, but there's a good chance that that's where they will have hooked on.
Okay.
If only so that they can get the maximum number of pilots through at a time coming on board.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. There should be. There should be a map included at the. Would there be included on the computer?
Like you've got no detail on the rest of the ship, but what the manifest will give you is it will show each of the cargo bays. So as a result, what you've got is an outline view of the ship with just the cargo bays highlighted. So from that, you can at least identify where you are. You just don't know what's in the areas of ship immediately outside you.
Yeah.
You can make a good guess, however, as to the route that you need to take in order to find the main airlock.
Okay. So looks like the main airlock probably is around. I gesture on or Trip gestures on the map, and can't say for sure. But if I were designing this ship, that's where it would go. So that would be my recommendation for where we go.
Right.
And that's going to be full of people who've just invaded the ship.
This
Yeah.
is true, but
So you find a different
or
route
possibly.
that has no people.
Well, if you want to be sensible about it. All right, fine. But if we're going to get to the other ship, though, we need to get across through the connection somehow.
Yep.
And, it's not like we can go through a secondary port and wind up in the ship that's docked at the main. So we will need to go there at some point.
No, because none of us have spacesuits.
Exactly.
It's a spaceship. There's going to be some suits on the ship, right?
Probably not
Should be.
enough.
If you can find an airlock, there may well be some suits in lockers at the airlock.
Yeah, there may be enough for us.
I'm trying to remember, one of the characters had piloting, and I'm trying to remember which character it was.
Not me.
It actually was. It was Trip again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it is.
Trip's
Wow.
the posh one with a proper
Oh my god. Okay.
proper background, proper education.
Yeah.
Let's go with an
I have not had.
intuition and piloting roll.
Okay,
I think, which is coming out at 4 dice.
So we need to keep you alive because you're going to fly us home once we're done and dusted.
Yep.
Okay, well that's good to know. I have not had a lot of time to
Yeah.
play with my characters.
You're still only getting one share, though.
Oh, fine. Okay.
So
14.
it's going to be more than enough, I think, to know some basics about the way ships like this are set up. And
Okay.
the odds are that there are less emergency spacesuits, vacuum suits, than there are crew.
Well, yeah.
But there should
Yes.
be at least one next to each airlock. If only because, in case of an emergency, somebody could get cut off from their own lockers.
Some poor sap gets told, we're going outside to fix that thing that can only be fixed from outside the ship. Have fun.
Yep.
Boink.
Yep.
Or to paint the ship. I mean, that was
Oh.
a standard punishment on the Red Dwarf, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, the
Yeah,
jelly
well.
paint.
the nice thing though is that they will probably pull you back in because they want the suit back.
Yes, this is true, yeah.
Good point.
It's much cheaper just to patch that torn arm than it is to, and clean the suit out, than it is to buy a new one.
Exactly. Yeah, so at least your survivors will have your body.
If your suit has a recyclable label on it, then worry.
Yes.
Get the deposit back.
All
Mhm.
right.
Okay, how many exits are there? Because there's an exit to over there,
Right, yeah, there are
but is there also one down here?
indeed 2 exits, one map north, one map south. Depending on where you want to go, the map south exit will be taking you more directly towards the hull. So if you're just looking for the nearest airlock,
Right.
try and
Okay.
get out, then map south. Map north will take you towards the central transit way in the ship, which is going to be your quickest way to get to a specific airlock, including the main one.
Okay. There's always the possibility of knocking out some pirates and dressing like them, but I doubt they're wearing uniform.
Ooh, do they have puffy shirts? 'Cause I'm wanting to wear.
You know, in the Strontium Dog universe, it's entirely possible that they do.
Yeah.
The only pirate I can
Okay.
remember in the comics off the top of my head was this pig-like alien called Papa Porker.
Gods.
Okay, not a fan of the name, but actually in real life this is making me want to pull out my vest and puffy pirate shirt as well. So, okay, so Trip is in favor of stealing costumes if they're cool.
Trip likes to play dress up.
Trip was so a theatre kid at school.
Now,
He was-
I picked the wrong skill. The Trip has the educated upbringing exploit. And I chose boxing on that, but I'm thinking that maybe retconning that to something more like theatre might be better in keeping.
Well, fisticuffs though. I mean, it's only a rank 1, and it's fisticuffs. It's fighting like a gentleman.
Yes, that was the theory that I was thinking of. Yes.
Yeah.
So it was fisticuffs.
Yeah, what the exploit gives you, by the way. I forgot that it actually gives you a +1d6 to academics skill checks, which I think includes computers. So I think actually you should have been rolling even more.
Crumbs. Okay.
And 1 rank in acrobatics, boxing, basketball, sailing, or tennis. But I would be okay with house ruling and retconning that to allow theatre as a skill instead of boxing.
I think, yes, the swashbuckling and of the dagger in the teeth and sliding down the rope. Yes.
Yes.
And,
Are you quite all right
stepping
there?
Oh, sorry. I get it a little carried away sometimes. But yes, whichever plan you prefer, but if we can maybe slide down a rope with the dagger held in our teeth at some
Any
point,
which way,
that
which
would
means
be
we
great.
avoid the opposition is good by me.
Okay.
Well, that also, yes.
Yes.
That's also good.
I'm just looking at Trip as he wanders past, muttering,
Right.
with cat-like tread upon the waves.
I apologise that I didn't have time to copy the text of your exploits into Fantasy Grounds. Otherwise, you'd just be able to click on them and look up what they do. If you want to know what any of them does, obviously, feel free to ask me. For example, you've got things like Lucifer's Fallen Angel exploit.
Which is only useful if I'm in the wrong time.
Which is only useful when time travelling, but when time travelling, you can make a mental attack against targets within 30 feet of you who will gain the dazed condition because you're just slightly ethereal.
Cool.
But only when you are travelling in time, which you're not at the moment.
Oh my god, the Owen Quinch had it. That's how they convince. That's how they
the
convince
Owen
those humans
Quinch
in the
did.
cornfield.
Oh.
Mind the oranges, Marlon.
So, Trip actually does have one that might be useful.
Of course he does, because Trip is basically the gold character and we didn't notice.
which is bait the line. A search destroy agent has to be ready to play possum, set traps, act as bait, and pull in a mark when they least expect it.
Yes.
If you succeed at a charisma mental attack against the mark and convince them that you are not the one hunting them, you gain a +2d6 to any check made to access the ambush turn against them. Essentially, there's a roll to see whether you get a surprise round, which is known as the ambush turn in this game. You also gain +2d6 to any attack made during the ambush turn. So, if you wanted to try and convince them that, say, you were just a passenger rather than a Stront, and then ambush them as they come to try and take you captive, bait the line would obviously apply to that.
Okay.
At least one of you has catch the mark, which should your target take damage enough to kill them, you can make a challenging luck check to instead render them unconscious and ready for transport to a prison shuttle.
What have I got? High noon, lucky shot, aim.
Yep.
I'm basically geared up for shooting things.
Aim. Every character in this game gets one of aim or feint, which essentially do the same thing. Aim is a ranged version of feint.
Yeah. I have both.
Every character can either aim or feint, or in some cases both, which lets you do that whole set them up for a better shot routine.
Okay, so we can head for if we head for the hole, then we can find any one airlock, and we can start locating suits, which hopefully we could wear as disguises.
High noon, by the way, if you can get a stare down with your opponent before the fight starts, then you and any allies within 30 feet gain a +1d6 initiative bonus.
Okay.
So yeah, but you've got to do the stare down. You've got to do the Clint Eastwood thing.
Oh.
Oh, the Princess Diana thing.
So I quite like the way the exploits work in the What's Old Is New system. It's a nice way of customizing the characters. So two characters that have similar skills and attributes with a different set of exploits will still be focused in different ways and have different little tricks that they can pull off. And it works out quite nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Just to briefly plug the system, because I'm quite enjoying the way it seems to work so far. What's Old Is New takes its name from the fact that it was originally released as 2 games. Old was a fantasy standard sort of D&D type game using this rule system, and New a sci-fi game using this system. They then added a 3rd game now for modern day contemporary gaming to the system, and then used it to create the Judge Dredd in the Worlds of 2000 AD RPG, which Strontium Dog is an add-on to. So effectively, if you like the way the system seems to work while we're playing this, there will be a variant on it for whatever you want to play.
Yeah. Very much. Okay.
So did you come to a decision as to which way you were going to go?
Well, if you wanted to try and avoid as many people as possible, heading for a quieter airlock would be the way to go. To raid for suits.
So presumably that's going to be a map south, because if you want to avoid people, you don't necessarily want to go to the central transit way where they're most likely to
Map south is where I'm going.
Map
Yes.
south is my vote.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think there is a relevant skill to this, but Lucifer, since you're standing next to it, can you just make me a quick intuition roll to open the door? It's just purely figuring out the control panel. Pressing the right
Just
button.
a straight 3d6, yeah? I've got.
Just a straight, however many dice your intuition gives you.
Remind me, am I totaling or am I individualizing?
You are totaling with this.
Okay, sorry, I just had a moment. That is 11.
11, that is going to be plenty. This was a routine check, which only needed 10. Actually, no, this is probably an easy check, which only needed 7. So, I can now... Unfortunately, I don't have a map carrying on beyond there, but I can still show off that if I click on the door, it will open, and your line of sight should now see through that door to the south. But the map doesn't continue, because I didn't add any further map tiles on beyond that.
Were we not supposed to go that way?
Well, yeah, we're going to theatre of the mind most of this. I just wanted to give you a visual focus to get started, so that you could get a feel for who and where you were.
Okay. I love that we've got the twilight. Sorry, now that we're not in direct visibility anymore, we've got kind of a twilight greyed out view on the map, which I love.
I'm looking forward to getting to use Fantasy Grounds Unity in a proper dungeon bash, where you're using the map to explore the whole time, and the lighting conditions will make a difference. I think that will look really good.
Mm-hmm.
So the door opens onto a relatively narrow corridor. Immediately ahead of you is another set of doors, similar to the ones that you have just opened, with 2 arrows painted on the doors, one pointing up, one pointing down, and a line through the up. Relatively easy for you to figure out that this must be a cargo elevator, and it only goes down.
Okay.
It's also got a little red light above the control panel on it. The corridor heads off to the left and right from here, but that is, as I say, quite a narrow corridor. So it seems that normally people will be coming out of the elevator straight into tertiary cargo, tertiary storage here, bringing the crates through and storing them. But that there is access to other parts of the ship through these narrow walkways that are obviously not designed to take cargo through, but just as rat runs for people to get to another part of the ship in a hurry.
I'm going to stab the call button on the left.
On the
Oh.
elevator.
Yeah.
Oh, not literally. Okay. Sorry.
Pulls out a big knife and suddenly inexplicably attacks the elevator.
In this game, I just don't know. Okay, I was like pushing it just as well.
Okay, yep. You reach out and you press the call button on the elevator, and immediately wish that you didn't,
Okay.
because come back, die. I wanted to
Maybe
roll
you
you,
should
not
have
accidentally
stabbed it.
drop you.
Come back, die.
Okay. As you stab the call button, the red light above the control panel flashes brighter, and a loud beep emits.
That's broken.
It's clearly a nope tone.
Right, that's disabled.
Trip, make me a quick
Yeah.
piloting check. Piloting and intuition, same as we did last time.
Okay.
So you don't need to change anything.
Where are you?
Just to explain what I
did.
did, by the way, for on the character sheet for that skill roll, there is a space on the sheet for setting up these things in advance, but because you can use because it uses a combination of an attribute and a skill rather than each skill being tied to an attribute, the character sheet does not have the attributes already factored in. Instead, in the attribute column, you can just click in that column and it will cycle through the attributes. So you can click through to the attribute you're meant to be rolling, and then it'll add that to the skill and roll it. So in this case, a roll of 10 is sufficient. That to you, it seems obvious that this elevator is disabled, because it probably runs to the outside, and when you're in space, it's a bad idea to work that.
Ah, yeah.
That makes sense. But
It does.
yeah,
so that
especially.
has flagged any alerts to anyone up in the bridge that might be looking for such
Yeah,
things.
shall we be leaving then?
That is an interesting question.
Yeah.
Depends on how paranoid the ship designers were, or indeed the ship owners, because that's the kind of thing that can probably be set via software, whether
Yeah.
it will flag an alert.
Yeah.
With this kind of, this is sort of it's a tramp cargo ship. It's not part of a big line. It's more of an independent vessel that takes on contract jobs. So some of the cargo on board might possibly belong to the ship owners, but more likely they're being paid to ship cargo, and they just looked for people who needed to ship things to the destination they were already going to. Exactly the sort of thing that you might do in Elite Dangerous, using the bulletin boards to find cargo missions and pick up the 6 that are going to the same location, and off you go. So, and with probably a small amount of passenger space, but you don't know whether there are any passengers on board at the moment, because they wouldn't be included in the cargo manifest. They'd be on a separate system.
Optimist.
If for this kind of ship, the odds are that they're a little bit slapdash on security, and maybe it won't alert anybody. However, it was quite a loud bleep, and it did echo through these corridors. If there's anyone nearby, there is a chance that they heard it.
Yes. So, is this something where we might, I mean, talking to the other PCs, any feelings on trying to force the doors and go and descend through the elevator passage? If the lift is disabled, it should be reasonably safe as long as we don't run out of air or, get jettisoned back into space.
You put way too much thought into this. Yeah. Okay. So,
I mean, just an
let's
idea. I'm not
move.
married to it at all. Just,
that's-
just saying, especially at least the lift shaft will be roomier than the corridor. So
on the whole, I do not want to get shot screaming into the cold-hard vacuum of space.
That would be bad.
that's fair enough. Yes.
That can't happen to you anyway. You're not a monkey.
True. Okay.
Sorry, I know what you were quoting then.
Yeah, sorry. That was it. So I was just checking out what All-Seeing Eye does.
Okay.
Yes, what does the All-Seeing Eye do? Apart from appear on American money.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I swear that the designers of American money just were deliberately thinking, how can we really keep the conspiracy theorists going berserk forever? Let's put the Illuminati thing on it. That'll do for starters.
You have a third eye in the middle of your forehead. This eye is immune to illusions and can see even the most perfect hologram for what they are.
Ah, yes, the immune to illusions thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm quite happy with the idea that your all-seeing eye is concealed until you want to use it, and then you sprout the third eye. Whether it's just an eye or it's on a slight stalk or whatever is entirely up to you. It's your mutation. Cosmetically, you can do what you want with it. And when you are using it, yeah, you can see through illusions, and you'll see the holograms, but you'll know that they are holograms.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to see that they are holograms.
Okay, because otherwise, like, half the computing systems become unusable to you.
Yes, this is true.
Right, okay, so...
I still love the idea that you basically have to close one eye in order to use a computer. You know, actually, it occurs to me that would be a very Strontium Dog thing, actually. If your all-seeing eye was actually the left eye, and you see normally with the two slightly wonky... You've got slightly wonky vision, because your two normal ones are one in the middle of your forehead and one on the right.
I love that.
The idea of somebody tilting their head to aim down a gun because it's the wrong eye.
Ew.
Okay, I actually identify a great deal with that because my prescription is so out of date and I have to tilt my head like this to look through the magnifying glass. The glasses.
Every single person here is wearing glasses. I think we all feel your pain at this point. Okay.
Yes, but I have to wear mine in this ridiculous Professor Snaffles kind of way, because I can't see anything past the end of my arm when I'm wearing them, and I can't see anything closer than the end of my arm when I'm not.
Oh no!
You're going to have to get bifocals,
The
Fish.
perils of age.
Yes.
Bifocals are not that bad. Or the progressive ones where
The varifocals, yeah.
Yeah, the varifocals.
Yeah, they're better. They're better. Yeah. The bifocals with the big line across the middle.
No, not
I
the...
used to have 20/20 vision. I miss it. I really do.
I never have had 20/20 vision.
Right
See, so it's all right for you. You don't know what you're missing.
Yeah. I just assume everyone is you know, short-sighted as well. I'm not to swear. Extremely short-sighted.
I'm pretty sure, Fish, that I'm missing everything. You'd think I did something, but no.
Oh.
Okay, so if we head south and head for the hull, then while we've got our guns out, because I think we need to be ready for an ambush, we may be meeting roving band of pirates.
Well, due south, of course, is into the elevator, so...
Yeah, okay, not south.
Your corridor goes left or right, and you can look for a southward, for a turn-off heading further south in either of those directions, but you're going to need to pick a direction.
Is left going to take us towards the front or the back of the ship? The bow or the stern?
Yeah, leave us say that... I'm going to go back to using north, south, east and west because it saves confusion as to, hang on, left facing which direction. So map east is towards the back of the ship.
Okay.
And map west towards the front of the ship.
Okay. If you're at the front of the ship...
The main airlock is more likely to be west.
Yeah. Yep. Main airlock's more likely to be west. That's also where the controls are. That's where you're more likely to have pirates milling around. Let's go east.
The main cargo doors are more likely to be east.
Okay.
Okay, and moving cargo around means it has to be a way to access the outside of the ship.
Yes.
Right, so...
I've got my custom blaster out.
Yeah. Cool.
Trip pulls out his what is it? High-powered blaster.
Yeah.
It's a little tiny one.
I too shall draw my sidearm and move on.
Everyone's got the cool guns in this group.
I'm now going to rely on the game's group checks system.
Okay.
So the way this works, when you're all performing an activity where you can assist one another and you're doing it as a group, like say climbing a cliff or sneaking, in this case you are obviously moving cautiously,
Yep.
then you will succeed if at least half the group makes the check.
So only 2 out of 3 have to make it.
Yeah.
Well,
rather than it being-
and the tag along.
yeah.
Oh, and the tag along, of course. Yes, what I'll do is I'm going to ignore Lauren for purposes of things like this for the moment, because it would be unfair for the NPC, the PC who isn't here, to mess things up.
Yeah.
So rather than a common thing in a lot of games is that the GM tends to assume that if anybody fails the stealth check, then they get heard. But this group check, which you can do in any game, of course, not just this one, works quite nicely. The idea that if half of the party has succeeded, then they've managed to keep everyone quiet because you're doing well enough. So we need 2 of you to make successful stealth checks.
Okay.
Stealth, if you have the stealth skill, will add its 1 or 2 dice to your agility dice. This is going to be an agility and stealth.
Okay.
There are some. Actually, no. Actually, I'm going to make this intuition and stealth, because this is less actually sneaking and hiding and more trying to avoid meeting people, isn't it? So it's still stealth, but it's probably based more on going the right way than moving really quietly. So we'll make it intuition and stealth.
That's actually
Okay.
Right, what is it we need to roll? High, low?
You need to roll high. In your case, you get 1 die from your stealth, and your intuition would add another 3, so you can roll 4d6.
I have 4 2 2s and a 1.
Okay. I have no stealth skill, so just 1d6.
So
the 6s explode.
it will be no 6s do not explode. If you have no stealth skill, then you're just rolling your intuition.
Okay.
Which in Trip's case gives you 3 dice, because intuition is one of your better attributes.
Yeah. Okay.
There is also, you have a luck score, and you will have a luck pool, which I forgot to reset. So your luck dice are available to you to do various things, including add 2 dice. Let me just quickly read how luck works. Right, your luck dice pool forms a resource of dice which can be added at will to other dice pools in order to improve your chances, or which can be spent on other special actions. This resource replenishes itself every day. So effectively, for the purposes of this scenario, the scenario is not going to last more than a day of game time. So your luck dice are available to you over the course of the scenario. And you can literally just say, I don't like the number of dice I'm rolling for this, I don't think I'm going to succeed, so I will add 1 of my luck dice. Reduce your luck pool by 1, and roll an extra d6. There are certain things which require you to spend luck to perform them. Most of those are specific exploits that say spend luck to do something. Spending dice from a pool is a big mechanic in this game, but until we actually get to mechanics that use that, I'm not 100% clear on how that works, except that you have things like certain combat exploits. For example, you can spend dice from your attack pool in order to get some benefit. So usually it's like 2 dice as a cost. So if you've got an attack pool of 5 or 6 dice, you can say, right, I'm going to drop 2 of those and not roll them to hit, but as a result, if I hit, I get this benefit that I've paid for by doing that. Hopefully we will come across situations where that happens, so that we've got a better idea of how that works. It seems a fairly straightforward system in principle. I just don't know what the situations are where you can do it, because I don't know the system well enough yet.
Yeah. Okay. So I currently got a 12 on the intuition sneak check.
I got 15.
Right. So, despite the fact that Duncan wasn't particularly sneaky, nevertheless, the other two of you have managed to keep him from too much trouble.
Lift
Thankfully.
him up by the elbows and carry him.
What do you reckon? One each side.
Yeah.
You
pretty much.
catch a couple of glimpses of closing doors, and occasionally you hear the clomping sounds of somebody in a nearby room or a parallel corridor. But you don't actually encounter any pirates
Xenomorph in the air vents.
until you reach a space adjacent to the main cargo bay. You know it's adjacent to the main cargo bay because you looked at the manifest earlier on and you saw that little outline, and you know the main cargo bay is here. And up ahead of you, there is a hatch door heading north, which must head into the main cargo bay, but is only just small person-sized door, the kind that you kind of have to squeeze through, like you would find on, on a ship that isn't intended for anything major to go through. It's just purely for access, so it's not a cargo building. And next to it, there is indeed an airlock. There are 2 lockers next to the airlock, which you hope will contain suits, but there are only 2 lockers here. And the airlock itself is cycled shut, and all is dark.
Right. Okay then. Where's my character gone? Sorry, I must have filed my character behind the map.
I did
You have to
that.
keep
can
moving
always
the map
just-
around, so.
Yeah.
You can always bring your character up by clicking on the your
Yeah.
player portrait in the top left.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I remembered. I just glanced up and I was like, it wasn't there when I left it there. Okay. Let's 2 suits potentially.
That's 2 of us that can get.
Check on the 2 suits.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the lockers do each contain one fairly simple vacuum suit. It doesn't look like it is intended for any hard work. It's probably not the suit that would be used by somebody going out to do repairs. It looks like it's more of an emergency, I need a suit in a hurry to get out of this ship type suit.
Funny you should say that.
Just the sort of suit we're looking for.
Just the sort of suit that you're looking for, yes.
Right.
And a simple bubble helmet, because bubble helmets always look cool.
Yes.
Of course.
I've got my wings velcroed down at the moment,
Okay.
so this is not going to impinge me getting into or out of suit. I would suggest we take them with us rather than getting into them now, because they're fragile enough. If they get shot or something, that would be a bad thing.
Get into a fight while wearing a vacuum suit, then you probably then can't go into vacuum with it.
Yeah.
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 That's...
The great god duct tape.
Oh, no.
I'm not building an entire suit out of duct tape, although actually you probably could.
You probably could. I remember Mythbusters building a boat out of it.
It was the bridge that got me. Right. And then we need to find another airlock for a 3rd suit.
Hopefully.
2 more
and
suits, sorry.
2 more suits, yeah.
2 more
Hopefully,
suits, yes, because you've got lower.
Yeah.
yes. Because, probably splitting the party unless we wish to do adventure movement as a desperate thing.
Well, we're not desperate. We're on a timer because the pirates will only muck around so long before
Yeah.
either blowing this ship or knackering its engines and turning it loose. So
Yeah.
we really need to get across there sooner rather than later, but I don't think we're quite
Agreed.
at the scream and run stage yet.
Agreed.
But we need to keep that in mind just
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Emphasis on dead.
Perfect.
By the way, I have my short sword strapped to my back because
Oh,
I
okay.
have neodymium magnets on my shirt. It's between the wings, basically.
makes life very awkward if you're trying to be sneaky on board this metal ship.
Yes.
But every time you flatten yourself against the wall,
Well,
it takes
yeah.
you 10 minutes to get back off again.
I thought it was a polymer composite.
Oh, just this. Oh.
Yes, so will only ever sidle along walls. Okay,
So
right
you're
then.
taking the suits and...
Carrying on east, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no direct route east from here
Okay.
anymore. You've come to sort of the end of this corridor and reached the airlock and the main cargo hold.
Okay.
So you can either backtrack slightly and take a different corridor, or you could try moving through the cargo hold to see whether you can find a way
Yeah.
where you go from there.
Main cargo
There might,
hold.
for example, be a matching airlock on the other side of the cargo
Yeah.
hold if you can get through the cargo
Yeah.
holds.
Yeah. Might be.
Is it showing pressurized?
The airlock is entirely dark. It's not showing anything at all.
Right. Power cut. Does it have a manual cycle?
Make me a logic roll, because you don't have any suitable skills.
I hate you so much. Oh, actually, that could be worse. A total of 4.
4.
I don't know what I'm looking for. I've got 2d6, come on.
You examine the airlock, looking to see if it has a manual cycle, and start doubting whether this is actually an airlock at all. You think it might possibly be the ship's laundry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I found the rinse cycle, the spin cycle, and the dry cycle, but I've yet to find the air cycle.
Does
Trip!
anybody else want to have a look?
Fluff and fold.
Duncan.
Yes, Trip will have a look at that. I don't.
Okay, you get 2 dice for your logic.
Okay.
Again, I don't think you've got any
Yeah.
suitable skills.
Unless I can intimidate it.
Actually, I suppose
Or
we
negotiate.
might allow piloting for this. Might we?
Oh.
Because,
Knowledge of
Again, it's
ships.
just knowledge of the
Okay.
ship.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's better than my negotiating with the airlock. So
piloting and logic roll comes out of 3 dice for you.
okay. Oh well, yeah.
Well, that 6 was very useful.
Yeah. I didn't. I think if I had gotten all three ones, I probably would have accidentally opened the airlock and jettisoned us all to space. Oh.
So I think it's not that difficult a task that you're attempting to do. You didn't roll particularly well, but you can identify that it does have a manual release, but you're not entirely sure on how it works. So there are, there are levers here, but you can't tell whether the airlock is already exposed to vacuum. So if you manually release it, you could be evacuating this corridor.
Promptly and swiftly, and anaerobically. Okay, so does Duncan have any relevant skills?
Are you kidding me, right?
Duncan does not have any relevant skills.
Or can
for
we
this.
ask?
Unless you think maybe shooting it might work, I'm probably not a lot of help.
Has been known to help, but
I'll try to.
If there were a
start
dead
pointing
body
pistol
in
at
the
it.
airlock, then Duncan would be useful.
okay.
You could, of course, seek ghostly advice if you wanted. You can only do it once per day.
Yeah.
But you could see whether there is a ghost of a spacer here who can grant you a bonus.
Ooh, that is a point.
And that would be you'd be rolling 2 dice for your logic, and the ghostly advice would give you another 2 dice. So you'd be rolling 4 dice.
Still only 4
But you
dice.
can only do it once a day. So
Yeah.
or 5
Really-
dice if
really
you choose
kinda
to also
early in
spend
the
a point
day
of
to
luck.
be- It's kind of early in the day to be leaning on the ghostly advice.
You don't
I think-
absolutely know that this information is going to be useful. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I also don't absolutely know that there's going to be a ghost I can talk to.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. As the rules as written, you can do it whenever. Personally, I think I'm going to sort of mess around with that in a more narrative manner, and there may or may not be a ghost. So, in this case, I don't have any strong opinions as to whether there should or shouldn't be, so I would roll some dice and find out.
Mm-hmm.
Question:
In
if
other
there's no
situations,
ghost, does it still count as my once per day, or is there just no one to talk
if
to?
there's
so it
no
doesn't
ghost,
count?
then you can't do it, and it doesn't count as your once per day. I'm not that mean.
That's good.
I am,
doesn't
however,
count as-
tempted to, just because no one's really coming up with anything, I will
Mm.
try put my trust in blind luck and spend a luck point and roll the dice based on
Okay.
the skill that I don't have.
Okay, so yeah, you would be rolling 3 dice then. I'll take 1 die out of your luck pool on the character sheet.
Yeah, 11.
Oh,
11. 11 is still the best roll anybody has made yet.
That's what I
on
was
this.
thinking.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's largely not much better than my last roll when I tried to do something and you're like, stealth.
True, true. So
It's only 1
you
point better than
have
my
the advantage that Trip has already identified the manual cycle on this door.
Cool.
So you already know that. You're examining it for further information. And with the 11, I'm going to give you that you're reasonably confident that there is air on the other side, that the outer door is not open.
I'm quite confident.
However,
Reasonably confident we won't dry.
you're...
Excellent.
Wait for Drutt to put our
Hey.
headset back on. You're also reasonably confident that this airlock has been deliberately shut down.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
because I
It's
don't want
not
anyone-
just
Yeah.
not functioning, and it's not that there's no power to the ship, because obviously lights and life support and everything are still working. But this airlock has been deliberately shut down, and you don't know whether that's been done on a local level, maybe because something's wrong with it, so they've disabled it, or because it's been done on a ship-wide level, because somebody's gone into the computers and shut down all the airlocks. Without looking at another airlock, you don't have enough information to figure
Right.
that out.
Okay. Well, I suppose the best way to try this is to actually see what's on the other side of this.
Yeah, so who's sitting up and going through?
I think we said we were fairly sure that there was air on the other side.
Well,
Yes.
if there isn't, though,
And
at
Jules
least,
fairly short.
yeah, at least the two. If there
Reasonably
isn't,
confident.
yeah, if there isn't, then at least the two who have suits will possibly survive a little bit longer. Two
How
of them-
confident is reasonably confident?
Exactly that. Reasonably confident.
60, 75%?
Who wouldn't roll on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fast death, and you know, if it goes wrong.
No, it isn't. It really isn't.
That's what you tell yourself, though.
Yeah, that's what they tell people, but it isn't. She says
I've had a few
going...
conversations that could back that point up. They said it wasn't really quick.
This is true, but we
like
this
that.
is what we tell each what we tell each other.
The corpse is a
So-
corpse, of course.
Of course. What?
Setting to stasis.
Okay, so
Is that a setting higher or lower than setting to start?
Stasis. This ammunition pops a stasis bubble around the target.
Ooh.
It's impressive.
cool.
Don't blame me. That's 200 credits worth of gun.
Yeah. If the party wants, Trip will throw on one of the vacuum suits and try to go through the airlock.
Backtrack slightly
Oh,
to
sure.
why, Drutt, you wanted to know whether you could manually cycle the airlock.
Because I wanted to know if we could get it open.
Right. Okay. I was just wondering more. Let me rephrase the question. Why did you want to get the airlock open?
Because I wanted to head through the cargo hold to where there is presumably another airlock on the far side.
You don't need the airlock to go through the cargo hold.
Have I misinterpreted you?
I think you may have done. You got
Oh.
confused here. You've got a hatch into the cargo hold,
Right.
and next to the hatch into the cargo hold is an airlock into the
Oh,
outside.
sorry.
Oh,
It's not an
okay, well
airlock
then-
into the cargo hold.
Right,
It's an airlock
okay.
into the outside.
Okay, no, that's
Okay.
that's fine. That's my cock up.
Okay.
Sorry, my apologies.
Okay, then yes,
In that
I
case,
would
we don't
vote
need to
for-
suit up. We can just go straight through the cargo hold.
yeah, the hatch, not the airlock.
Yeah.
One question. Whilst we don't necessarily need to go through the airlock,
Mm.
sometimes in case of emergency, I'd like to think maybe there might be a suit on the other side of the door. If
Yeah.
someone's just a little bit paranoid, if one of you could suit up and just check for me, I'd really appreciate it. Just in case, you know. I'd hate to miss one.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah, sure. Might as well.
I'm on the edge of saying, Trip, you're too valuable. But
But self-preservation. I mean, would your character?
just remember, if you've got
I
the
didn't
bubble
give any
helmet,
of these characters the "I always get shot" exploit,
No.
which lets you get in the way of a bullet of an attack that's going at one of your friends.
Oh,
I would
You mean
also
that there is
remind...
actually in the game a bullet catcher exploit?
Yep, there is.
that's adorable.
I
It's one of the
considered it.
rookie SD agent exploits. So
Yeah.
every Strontium Dog character has the opportunity to take that if they want to.
Effectively, it's the red shirt trait.
Yeah.
Oh.
I did consider it for about 3.5
I believe
seconds.
it also gives you a bonus for not dying under those circumstances, so you're less likely to be killed by it. But it is basically the ability to take one for the team.
Yeah.
Aw.
Also, do remember, if you have your bubble helmet closed, you can't use your glob.
Well, you can, but it wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm not
it-
cleaning
it's
out your
just-
helmet.
It's just going to make a mess.
That's fine. I would prefer not to glob anyway. With this.
Yeah,
suit.
it's like sneezing in a wetsuit. It's a bad idea.
Yeah. Or farting. No, we don't want to go there.
It's
Yeah.
about as welcome as a fart in a spacesuit. Yeah. Okay. No, this is
So-
not this is not an indication you should empty your bowels, obviously, before you climb in. But yeah, don't ask, don't tell.
Smoke me a kipper for breakfast. Or smoke me a kipper. I'll be back in time for breakfast. I
Yes.
misquoted.
Yes.
Damn it. Sorry. So I
Smoke me a
Trip will.
Yes.
I will then don the suit and check out the airlock to see, assuming that there is no, reinforced glass window, so where we can actually see in the port that you just haven't mentioned.
No, there isn't a window on this one. It's not one of
Okay.
those airlocks that is designed for the dramatic death scene. This is a purely practical airlock with just
Okay.
a metal door.
It's a practical airlock. It's not a CG airlock.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry.
Then we'll go ahead. Trip will go ahead and give that a shot. Peek in the closet.
Okay, so
essentially.
the manual release on the door is a lever that has to be pumped in order to open the door. It would normally have a hydraulic or possibly pneumatic, but probably hydraulic system that opens the door, and this lever manually operates that. So you're there sort of cranking this thing for a while. The door gradually opens, and once it's opened enough to squeeze through,
Yeah.
once it's opened big enough for the bubble helmet, really, which is going to be the widest part of anybody wearing a suit.
Visions of getting caught by the head and just sort of dangling as your feet scamper wildly.
Then you can get inside, and it's a fairly small airlock here. It's clearly designed for access. It's not an airlock that you would use under normal circumstances, but for for example, for repairs, you want a number around different parts of the ship so that whatever area you have to go and repair, you can use the airlock closest to it and not have to traipse halfway around the hull. So that's sort of small utility airlock. It does have a little window in the outer door, even though it doesn't have a window in the inner door. It does not have any further lockers inside. There's no spare suit in here in case of emergencies.
Okay.
However, what there is through the window, you can see somebody floating in space. They're wearing the same sort of suit that you are, but without the bubble helmet.
Oh, that's messy.
Oh.
And they are just a few yards outside the airlock. Looks like either they have no momentum somehow, or maybe they've been caught by the fractional, minuscule amount of gravity that two large ships generate between them, and not therefore escaped. But whether they went out of this airlock or have come to rest here after going through another airlock, you can't tell. But as I say, they are wearing the same sort of suit that you are, so there's a good bet that they are a member of this ship's crew.
Okay.
Spice with confidence.
Yes. Do they appear to be? I mean, I don't think that there would be enough time to cycle the airlock closed and open the exterior door and get out to them, even if they were still alive. But I'm assuming that they are at this point.
They look like they've been there long enough that it's far too late. Yeah.
They are an ex-sailor then, or
this is an ex-ship's crew. Yes.
Okay, that is good.
Pining for the fjords already.
It's beautiful plumage there. But
plumage,
if
that's
I'd have suited up
beautiful.
and gone through, I could have asked him where the helmet was.
Well, if we get him back in, you can.
You could, yeah.
yeah, actually,
Well, you can't ask where. It's yes or no questions.
Oh yes, it is, isn't it?
You'd have to think of a clever way of asking to be able to get that.
Did you voluntarily take your own helmet off? Are you
I
an
think you
idiot?
could probably guess the answer for that one.
yes.
Bring him in, we can have a chat.
Trip will lean back through the airlock, partially open door, and say basically, "Yeah, we got a stiff one out here, and not in the fun way." Sorry.
Bring him for a chat. We'll see if we can find what happened.
Sorry, Drutt. Okay. Well, I assume rigor mortis occurs in space. I don't
Well,
know.
he's been frozen if nothing else.
Yeah.
This is true, yeah.
Yeah.
You need to put
Frosty
him in the
one.
microwave for a few minutes. Really low power before you can do anything with it.
From defrost
You'd end up with
from the
human
skin.
soup.
Oh.
Oh.
Yes, while he's frozen, at least the burst veins are not going to be leaking.
Oh. Okay.
I think in future all of our game streams might just need content warning us.
I think so. I apologize for that. So, do we wish
It's just everything. It's fine.
do we wish to bring him in, because that's going
Yes.
to take a bit?
Bring him.
It is going to take a while because you're going to have to
Yeah.
manually
It's
close the inner door.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out how to manually. Well, I suppose you don't have to figure out how to manually cycle the airlock. You just need to make sure that you're hanging on and don't get blown out when the air goes.
Yeah.
And manually cycle the outer door.
I think it's too
Yeah.
much of a risk
Yeah.
on 2 time consuming to actually do it.
Yeah, and have some sort of tether to get out there
Yeah.
to collect him without the helmet too.
True.
None
If
of
you
you
still
know.
had a helmet, I'd say do it, because the pair of you can go in. I'd make myself scarce here, but without the helmet, there's no point.
Yeah.
It's not a complete
Yeah.
service, no good to us.
Fair.
The if one of you had suitable sort of technical type skills, you could maybe try and figure out how to power the airlock back up, or you could obviously make the thing considerably easier. But as things stand, the only option you've got for that is if it was shut down by computer, and
Yeah.
Trip can
Does
find
our
a
fourth have
terminal.
any technical type skills they might pipe up and speak, tell us about?
Lauren.
Lauren's more
Lauren's
shooting and
computer.
hitting.
Yeah,
Lauren
get
is
them.
more
And in-
about the shooting and hitting, yes.
And the cutting comments.
Lauren's best skill is brawling. So actually they do have a good skill in insight, but that's not going to be useful in this situation. Primarily though, Lauren is all about the hitting things. So
If we could get Trip back on this side and the door shut, I'm tempted to ask Lauren to just punch the mechanism, see if the electrified part shorts it and powers it up.
That's not a
that's an
terrible
interesting
idea.
idea. Yeah, you could try and use the Electronux to power the system. Yeah, that is an interesting idea indeed.
Hmm.
Hey, we got nothing to lose, right? Let's pull Trip back in and let Lauren get down with the brute force and electricity.
Okay, so yeah, you can. Trip comes back in. I assume you're going to shut the airlock door before you try this, just in case something goes horribly wrong.
That's the intent, sir.
Yeah, just lever off the panel with a knife or something, so that you have access to the circuitry inside, and trigger the Electronux up against it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an unreasonable plan. I think. You know, I'm going to go a little bit weird on this. I'm going to make this a group roll on logic, because you're all sort of between you saying, yeah, no, try directing the current there, and between you, see whether you can figure this out. I'm going to call it a, let's have a look, I'm going to call it a routine logic roll.
I
which means you were looking for
apologise.
10s.
Oh God. I
And
apologise in
provided
advance.
2 out of the 3 of you make the roll.
8. Damn it.
This is a remind me rolling on logic.
This is rolling
Yeah.
on logic. Yeah,
That's only 2 dice, yes.
Yeah.
that's only 2 dice. You do have luck dice that can be
I'm considering it.
added to these.
I
The luck
didn't think
is-
to, so I can't
Fish, would
now.
you be kind enough to deduct
because
the
we're
luck
not used to the
for me, please?
system yet, I will allow a luck die to be added retroactively if you wish.
Okay.
Looking at Trip's roll, both Trip and Lucifer were close enough to making it that a luck die would make a difference. In fact, in Trip's case, it would automatically make it, because Trip rolled a 9. And you need 10.
Oh.
So, if Molia chooses to spend one of her luck dice, then no matter what, minimum it can roll is a 1, which is going to be enough that you will then make it, provided that Duncan has. But I didn't hear what Duncan's roll was.
I haven't rolled yet. I was going to ask you to deduct the luck point so I could roll 3 dice, not 2.
Yep, no problem. You can deduct the luck points yourself, but since I'm kind of running Fantasy Grounds anyway, I'm quite happy to do it for you.
Excuse my French.
Oh dear.
Oh, no.
Needless to say, it's less than 10.
Oh, even with the luck die. That
In
is
fact, it's less
unfortunate.
than half 10.
I'm going to take advantage of Fish's generosity
As am I.
and spend that luck point retroactively.
Yes.
Okay.
I watched
Yes.
2 dice roll on one. I thought it's okay. The next one's going to be reasonable.
Because
Next
my
one's
luck
got to
pool,
be higher.
my luck pool is only 2, and now it's only 1.
Yes.
Well, I've taken no, I've just taken one off the wrong character there.
Well, 3 dice
Yeah.
in total 4. I rolled
Oh,
fish dice.
okay. Well-
13.
Yeah. Okay, I got a 2 on my single luck die, and so
Okay,
brings me
so
to
yeah,
11.
that you needed 10s, so with a 13 and a 10, it's cost you 3 luck between you to do it. But
Okay.
you have managed to point Lauren's knuckles in the right direction,
Down a bit, left a bit.
and
No,
with
no.
with a crackle of electricity, the Electronux fire off into the circuitry, and suddenly everything lights up. There's a panel by the door that you hadn't even realized was a panel. It's one of those.
Cool.
It's a bit like a Kindle, where it doesn't look like an LCD screen or something. When it's turned off, it just looks a little bit like the rest of the wall. That suddenly lights up. A little red light appears momentarily above the door, then swaps to the green light next to it. And
okay.
the panel runs through a set of what look to be diagnostics. And just before it all switches off again,
Yep.
you see a string of OKs written in green after a number of prompts that run through too quick for you to be able to read.
Ah.
So, although it powers down almost immediately, it was enough for you to know that as far as the system is concerned, there is nothing wrong with this airline. So it has obviously been deliberately powered down,
Right.
not for maintenance, but simply to stop people going through it.
Right.
Good to know.
So they're going to be channeling everyone through that main airlock.
Yeah.
All the more reason to find another suit and manually walk out of this one.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's go.
Okay.
Okay.
Cargo hatch.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So the hatch through into the cargo bay
Yeah.
opens up into a dark room. It's faintly lit with a red light. It's got that emergency lighting feel to it, somewhere high up above you. And the hatch opens, it pulls towards you rather than going into the cargo.
Okay.
And opens into a narrow space between the wall and some sort of cargo container. Looks like a maybe 20-foot metal. The same sort of cargo container that you might see on the back of the truck.
Okay.
And glancing around, you can see that there are several of these stacked neatly in this space. But that if this edge is anything to go by, there are these narrow corridors between them, allowing you access to the room.
Right. I am going to see if I can repeatedly ping and see if I can get a layout.
Okay, yeah, it'll
Channeled
only give
down.
you,
Yeah.
it'll give you a small amount at a time, but yeah, you can send out a ping, which will show you that this runs all the way along this wall, as far as your ping goes, and to the right, just before the edge of your ping, you can catch the edge of a gap running the other way, which is obviously a space between two containers. So it does look like there are routes through to the far side.
Yeah.
What you want.
Do they go to the ceiling?
They run not quite up to the ceiling.
Okay.
You're looking at 3 containers high, but then there does seem to be a gap at the top between that and the ceiling.
Right.
If nothing else, enough that the containers can be lifted off to move them in and out by some sort of high-tech Uber forklift.
High-tech Uber forklift.
Yeah.
Magno lift.
Yes.
That's
Uber.
the kind of thing, yeah.
I don't think Uber has yet branched into forklifts, but sorry, but okay. Does I keep forgetting her name. Lauren. Lauren, thank you. Lauren Behold, sense anything with her thermovision?
Ah.
With their thermovision, sorry.
The red glow is slightly of the room is slightly interfered with by the whatever color glow coming from Lauren's eyes as they peer into the darkness.
Oh, can we decide what colour Lauren's eyes are, and then he has to stick with it when he gets back?
Oh,
Sky blue pink.
sky blue.
Oscillating.
Okay. Ooh.
Someone's got
Oh,
Night Rider eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a Cylon.
Yeah.
Lauren is
Yeah.
a Cylon.
Yes.
oh. Okay, I like that.
Okay, so unfortunately, the metal containers are pretty much blocking
Okay.
in the same way that they are for Lucifer's echolocation. So both Lucifer and Lauren are in a position to be able to see or sense something maybe before it can sense them. But they've still got to actually get a line of sight
Yeah.
onto it because the metal
Okay.
containers are blocking.
Yes.
Unless maybe if one of you can get up on top of the containers and then you may be able to
Yeah.
ping
How
or
wide
look
are they?
down.
The gaps.
The gaps, not very. You are having to squeeze through. So if you wanted to try doing the chimney climb thing, that would certainly
Okay.
work. It's
I-
not that difficult to climb to get up. If
Right.
anybody actually has the climbing skill,
Are they
even without the
secured?
climbing skill, it's not that difficult. But with, obviously, you've
Yeah.
got a much better chance.
Are they secured in any way, like with straps, or is it just sheer ship's gravity keeping them in place?
You can't see. Actually, no, that's not true. I was going to say you can't see anything securing them, but the ones on the bottom seem to have some sort of clamp at each corner, or at least the two corners that you can see. And then there's another clamp clamping the two together, and you assume a third clamp clamping the third one on above that. So they are connected together with these clamps.
Okay.
Fish, in terms of visibility, obviously those with infrared sight can see where they're going, and echo sounding can get an idea.
Yeah.
I've got an infrared torch, but I don't have infrared vision, so I can't actually see what the torch is doing.
Yeah, does the infrared torch hopefully come with something that lets you actually
Interpret what it's doing. I'm hoping.
interpret what? Yeah, let's just quickly check the equipment. Did you read up on the infrared torch when you? Gave
I did. Hang on one sec.
Infrared
It
torch.
basically gives you infrared vision.
Okay, yeah. The description simply says sometimes you do not have eyes that can see the infrared part of the spectrum. This handheld torch lets you mimic that mutation and follow the footprints of bad folks wherever they might go, unless they take a dip in hot lava or water. So
I've
I am
seen it
going
used
to
in the comics,
assume-
if that helps.
Ah,
Fish.
have you? That would
Yeah.
be nice. See if it matches what I was going
Yeah.
to guess at.
What it does is it shows traces in terms of footprints or where anyone's brushed against or touched anything. It will show the lingering heat residue. As you shine effectively the invisible beam on it, it becomes visible.
There's no explanation of how that works. It just
Just-
shows up the heat traces when
It
you.
does.
Yeah.
Where you shine it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, slightly odd.
It cannot be used to
Device.
follow tracks if they've been over a few hours old, so...
I have no idea how that would actually work in real terms, but that doesn't really matter. We know what it actually does, and
Yeah.
that's what's more important.
So yes, sorry, that's why I said I've seen it in the comics, but
So
I
yeah,
wouldn't like
it's
to try and work out the
It
logic.
fires a technetium beam at the ground,
yeah,
Exactly.
which actuates.
Yes, it actualizes the
I'll try that.
infrared residue. No, you're absolutely right. And converts it to the visible spectrum
So
within
it's
the
not-
context of the beam.
it's not really any good for
No.
seeing in the dark.
No, it's
Unless
a
there is
tracking device
actually
rather
than
a
a-
source already that you can use
This
it.
this
At
is
least
more
I know
like
it.
this is more like shining a UV light on someone where
It-
you've coated
it's-
their boots in
It's like
paint.
luminol for footprints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up, Fish. You're coming up with pithier comments than us.
I mean, that's purely because I was having a conversation with someone the other day about Luminal.
Okay, so kind of
I'm
like
scared.
UV.
Oh, you know how it is. You have to be concerned about this kind of thing. You know, you need to know how well do you need to clean. You know.
Very well.
Yeah. Yeah. See, my mind went immediately to UV light in hotel rooms.
In hotel
Oh,
rooms.
no.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
bad plan.
That's a bad idea. Just
Yeah.
accept what you're getting and just
Yeah.
go with it.
What you don't know will not hurt you immediately.
So the best visibility in here is actually up on top of the containers
Yeah.
because the red
Okay.
emergency lights are at the top of
Woo!
the area. The deeper down you go into these gullies in between them, the darker it gets. You can see enough that you're not going to bang into things or trip over, but without visual aids, you're not seeing enough to really identify anything past the end of your arm. You know.
Okay. The chimney climbing sounds like a swashbuckling type idea, so Trip is all for that.
I'm cursing I didn't give anyone a life wire.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or campfire in a can. You could use campfire in a can to produce heat that can then be seen with the infrared torch. Or you could just rely on the light from the campfire.
Yes.
Oh, who wants that?
God, you're picky.
So yeah, obviously climbing these would be an agility roll. Anybody with the climb skill gets to add their climb skills to it.
I have skills.
And
oh dear.
again, I'm going to say that they're not difficult. This is a routine task, so you'd only need 10s. But you are trying to get your 10s probably on 2 or 3 dice.
3 dice. Okay, let's give it a go.
I am not climbing.
You are not. You will tell our survivors, our loved ones. That
We'll
we-
try not to
that we
fall
love
on you.
them. Yes.
I'll walk on the floor, thank you very much.
Yes.
And when you
Okay.
fall off and die, you can tell me why it was a bad idea to
Well,
climb.
hopefully we will fall off before we reach the top.
442.
Oh, dang! I'm so close. Ah! Okay. Oh god.
Hey, Wings, why don't you just fly up?
Width of my shoulders, width of the wings, width of the space where I'm standing in.
I didn't say it was the best
Yeah,
idea.
Yeah.
I did
wouldn't
consider
let
the
you-
wings.
I wouldn't let you fly up, but I would, had you wanted to use the wings, have allowed you an extra d6. Because if you're doing the
Stability.
chimney climb, you can just like flap the wings to give you a little bit of lift as you're going.
Well, if I needed 10s, I got that anyway, so.
Yeah, so you got that anyway.
I didn't.
I think you just spent the last 5 minutes just slipping off.
Yeah, I'm.
Oh no.
You just don't have the leg strength for the chimney climb.
Unless you did something silly like rolling all ones, then less than 10 simply means that you're not finding a purchase to get up. I'm not going to make you get halfway up or fall or anything. It is just that you're failing to climb. However, Lucifer has reached the top.
Yes. How much clearance do I have between ceiling and floor? Not floor, ceiling and container.
You've got probably about 10 foot of clearance, so it's plenty for a person to stand on the top,
It's also plenty for me to glide.
and plenty for you to glide. Indeed, should you wish to.
So I can make it to the far side of the room and get us a different perspective.
But you are up here alone.
Yes. I'm sorry. What kind of scenario are we playing again?
I'm sorry, I got confused. It was Strontium Dog, and I just dog. I went to Scooby-Doo. And
Oh my god.
actually, looking at the font, it wouldn't take too much to obscure the logo enough to make it look like Strontium Doo, would it?
I
I
hate
have
you.
this image of Scooby-Doo in the Johnny Alpha outfit in my head, and I would
Oh my
pay
god.
good money to see that image.
Shaggy Sternhammer.
Shaggy Sternhammer, yes. Oh, you could do it.
Oh,
You could do it.
I can see it.
Yeah, so can I,
Yeah.
and if I've got to suffer, so's everyone else.
Who is probably wielding a hippie stick.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Anyway, meanwhile,
Velma
up here
Red.
on the roof, so to speak,
I hate you.
you can see across by this dim red light. You can see this matrix of containers
Yeah,
stacked
I am.
into
I'm gonna boost my vision with
The-
the ping.
cargo hold isn't. In this situation, the echolocation isn't really going to help. You've got an echolocation range of about 30 feet, if I
Yeah.
remember rightly. And there are these red. They're dim, but there are red lights around the cargo hold, enough that one dim red light where you are, you wouldn't be able to see very far, but by the edge of that dim red light, there's another dim red light, and then another dim red light. So you can actually see right the way across the roof.
Yeah,
of the
I
cargo
was
hold
just thinking in
quite
terms of
happily from here.
the echolocation should
you
let
can
me
send, you can
break
send a
out.
ping in case there's something within 30 feet of you that you otherwise haven't noticed.
Yeah, what I was thinking is this has a very. I'm getting a very alien feel here, and I would
Yeah.
very much like to know what is shadow, what is
And what
things
is
hanging from the roof.
okay, yeah, you can get a
Yeah.
clear look
Yeah.
at everything within 30 feet of you,
Yeah.
which is primarily going to be the top of this cargo container, the roof, and the wall behind you.
Yeah, that's fair. Bing, 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 bing.
There is the cargo hold is almost full, but you can see gaps
Okay.
here and there where some of the stacks are either missing or don't come all the way up to the top without getting closer to them.
The stacks don't go all the way to the roof.
Whether there's one or two containers in there. And you can see that the layout of the cargo hold looks to be fairly predictable. So you can't see the far wall, but you can guess that
Right.
directly opposite from where you are is probably another hatch, because everything else is neatly symmetrical. Everything you can see is neatly symmetrical.
Okay. Right then. I think the best bet is if I stay up here and go ahead. I can keep an eye out for anyone moving ahead of the people at ground level, and then we can get the drop on them. Literally.
I take it you are communicating this
Yes.
idea down to the people rather than just wandering off and making them guess.
No.
As you are calling this down,
Yeah.
in your best stage whisper.
I couldn't find anything in the way of comms, by the way. I may have missed
Odd.
it.
Yes, I would have thought comms would be a thing. I'm sure I remember Wolf and Johnny using them.
Yeah.
Maybe they just neglected to put them into the.
I may have just missed it, which is entirely possible. I mean, you got the wavelength receiver.
Yeah, no, there's very
is the
little
headwear.
gear in there, really, isn't there?
I mean, I've gone
However,
straight to Judge Dredd.
I was going to say, there may be something in the Judge Dredd book, and if not, I will just effectively make something up, because of course you can have comms.
Yeah. If it comes
Why
to
would you
it,
not?
I've got nearly 100 credits still free, so
Yeah, I've got 80 something, I think.
I think at least one of you has none because I literally spent every single credit you had.
I have 35 credits.
Communicator. Okay, so we have a communicator in
In Strontium?
Judge Dredd.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just looking for prices and so forth. Right, there we go.
Oh.
Okay, we have two communicators in Judge Dredd. We have a long-range communicator and a planetary communicator. Oh, and in fact, we have a personal communicator. So
Wow.
what
Yeah.
is the one that we're actually... Why is the personal communicator so much more expensive?
Because it's compact.
Ah,
Quite possibly.
Shrinkage
okay.
of electronics into a personal size.
True. Standard versions
Doesn't really give
are
us a proper
handheld.
description. Just says standard version is handheld. Communicator. What's the difference between a long range and a planetary? I wonder. Standard versions are handheld items, while exceptional quality versions consist of voice-activated badge on the exterior of the user's clothing. Communicators are able to talk to anybody on the same planet or in orbit, while long-range communicators can reach up to 1 AU. Okay, that's quite impressive communications technology.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my, yeah.
So a standard planetary communicator is only 30 credits. So I think we can reasonably
Okay.
grant you a pair of those
Yep.
Okay.
to work with. So yeah, as you are communicating back down via
Okay.
your standard communicator to your friends down below to tell
Yep.
them what you're doing, you all quite clearly hear, because this is a big room full of metal things and therefore is really quite echoey, the clunk of a hatch opening. Just the same noise yours made when you opened when you came into this room. Far side of the cargo hold.
And we can all hear that.
And you all hear that very clearly.
Okay.
You have a few minutes to think about how you want to respond to this, because I'm going to take a quick bio break now.
And feed the cat.
And then when we come back, you can decide how you're going to deal with the fact that someone else is entering the cargo hold
Yeah.
from the far side.
What are you standing on?
Yes.
Oh, it's me trying to work out what Pippin's on.
Oh.
The table.
Oh, he's on the table. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
Sorry.
Back in a moment.
Okay.
Okay. So.
Wrong thing.
So somebody else is coming into the cargo hold. This is great.
Are they friend or foe?
I'm going out on a limb that they're less likely to be friendly.
Yeah.
We've got two options to look at on that one. One, assume their foe behave accordingly. Two, assume they're friendly, but behave as if they're foe. So our course of action, I think, is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Wait till they identify themselves, but I do think we've got to consider that what they may be.
At this, yeah.
Crew
Especially
that have
Avoided detection.
Yes.
yes.
Right.
It depends too on. I mean, we may be able to make a guess according to how furtively they're moving. If we can hear them moving less, with confidence, as it were, then maybe that might indicate that there may be pirates. But if they're more furtive, then friends,
Okay.
or enemies of our enemy, at least. Or although we want to bring them in for bounty. So either way, I have let's see how many. I have a rank 1 in interrogation for what that does.
Cool. Okay, I already said I was swapping to stasis on my gun. Now that freezes things for up to a minute, as far as I can tell. And it doesn't hurt them.
Oh.
So if it is a crewman,
Yeah.
we'll have less explaining to do.
Yes. And we still have them alive for.
Yes. Well, most of us can't explain to dead
actually.
people.
Yeah.
I say most of us, not everyone.
Most of us. Well. Yeah, I'm still not entirely convinced.
3/4 of us can't explain to dead people.
Yes. Are we really sure though that Duncan isn't just taking the piss and making all of this up? Because it just, I wouldn't put it past them.
You'll never know.
Fine. Okay. By the way, I put a googly eye on the end of my games controller.
I was trying to work out what that was.
God.
Yes. Oh God, what did you think? Oh, I don't think I want to know what you thought it was.
I thought it was a glue gun.
Okay. Drutt's idea.
We'll go with that.
Drutt's. Yeah, I would not pull out anything horrible or that could get us,
I was
banned,
assuming dog toy.
Okay.
It's
Well,
the sneaky
although,
tactic you see of do something that
is
breaches
actually
terms and
too
conditions when you're on somebody else's stream. That's cutting down the competition, so everyone has to come and watch your channel.
Oh yeah, because I've been streaming so much, but I swear to you, it is my controller. It just has a googly eye, and I've been holding it like a gun.
I like that. It's
Great
disturbing.
innovation. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's great.
I apologize for alarming you, Drutt. I was
It's fine.
I'm not looking forward to it. This is going to wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and just like, oh my god, oh, okay. All right, we're fine. Okay, so. But yes, I have a whole bag of googly eyes to be put on things, and I.
Who does?
Yes.
Actually, I say why, but I've just bought half a dozen cat ears, so you know.
Yeah.
Well, the idea was to put googly eyes on either side of the camera,
Oh,
so I would
God.
be encouraged to make eye contact.
You know, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
That's
I've seen,
either, yeah.
I've seen other people.
I mean,
do
I
that.
find these role playing streams really useful for that. I've got you guys directly underneath my camera. On
Yeah.
the side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
reason I keep looking in that direction is because that's where Fantasy Grounds is, and then when I'm talking to you, there
Yeah.
you are. Camera.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, much the same. But I've got the OBS screen up at the top, so
Ah.
which is where the camera is for me, because VC's hidden. But no,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that would actually be horrific on my setup. That would be staring at me judgmentally.
Yes.
I just think you should paint up that thing that you keep your microphone in to look like a Coriolis station. It's really dangerous, but that's
I am so tempted to get some yellow paint pens, because that would do it. That's all I'd need to do is just go along the angles with the yellow paint. Possibly a
Oh.
tiny little pea bulb inside so it shines out. I'm so sad.
No, I love it. It's wonderful. It's fantastic.
So,
Okay.
besides obviously suddenly going really quiet,
Yes.
you realise there's somebody else here. What are you doing?
Okay. We're going to assume that they're hostile, but we're not going to kill them.
Okay.
You can always apologize later.
Yes. I have a stasis round loaded. And that will stop but not kill them. If it turns out to not be
Yep.
crew. Our options are that they're crew or they're pirates.
Well, I don't want to give away what they are, but I would just like to say phew, because a quick flick through the book finds on page 150 stats for space pirates, which saves me from the fact that I haven't actually statted out what's here. Conveniently, space pirates are a thing.
Because if space pirates are space pirates and they're breaking in, then stasising them and then handcuffing or whatever, zip tying the buggers together, that's exactly what we're planning on doing with them anyway.
I like the fact that they, in the WOIN, probably I'm the only person in the world who calls the
I've been
told this new system WOIN, but I do.
Yeah, it's where the water tastes like WOIN.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Actually, I think all the pirates probably take WOIN, don't they? Because they're pirates and pirates talk like that.
Don't. I was watching Solomon Kane last night. I am in so much trouble if you start doing that.
I like the fact the hook thing that you have on characters, like who dresses to impress or who has little time for the living. They've carried that on to the NPCs and the monsters in the
Oh, did
books.
they?
So we have the description: space pirates, medium sentient humanoid, murderous scum of 100 races who plague the spaceways. I love that these descriptions are carried on like that.
That is so cool.
That's a nice touch. What are you doing, Cat? Why are you trying to knock everything over?
He is a cat.
Yes, that would be
That's
why.
what they
That
do.
that table used to be used to have things on. gradually the cat has taken the
Yes,
entire
the cat
table.
has- You know, cats are territorial, and they will pick quite a small territory often within their abode. Like they'll pick a chair that's their chair or something like that. Well, he's decided the table is his, which means it is now useless as a table.
And he dunks his tail in the water bowl
Yeah, because he's an idiot.
because he can then splash it around.
Oh,
No, I'm sticking with because he's an idiot.
oh, but that's sweet though.
Oh, Pippin,
Right.
don't lick that on camera.
No, Pippin. Behave yourself. We've got company.
Oh, yeah.
I should really probably zoom
Oh,
the camera in so you can't see the cat.
Oh, come on, it's the internet. We get extra views for the cat.
This is true.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Yeah. And
He's a stretch goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and he's facing away from the camera, so
That doesn't make it any
helps,
better.
I suppose.
yeah.
Right, yes, he's a stretch goal for Thursdays.
Ooh, excellent.
Every X
I am very happy.
pounds, a Pippin visitation.
I'm being forced to bring the cat in.
As if you could convince Pippin to comply with your wishes.
No, I'm just going to rely on
Yeah.
him to come because Pippin.
Yeah, it won't be a
Fishy's
very
picked him up.
long Pippin visitation, only as long as it takes him to wriggle free.
Yes.
That's fair though.
Put a treat on your desk every time someone
Mm-hmm.
activates it, and just wait.
Yeah,
It comes along, picks
That's
it
a
up. and walks
thought, yes.
Yeah,
Oh
The
god, that
thing
would
is,
actually
then-
work.
but that would train him though to go to your desk for treats other times too, though. And
Which-
yeah.
I'm not sure whether that would be a good thing or a bad thing.
Give me a heart attack anyway.
Right. So,
Oh.
what is the plan? You,
Okay, if
you're in
I
a really good position at the moment, potentially, because you've got one person up on top and two people down below, and you can guide them.
coordinate,
And
yeah, that's what
coordinate
I'm
and do
doing.
all kinds of,
Yeah.
of cool, advantageous,
Yeah.
don't die in your first fight type of stuff.
Okay, I'm going to head forwards, and I'll tell you where they're coming.
Okay.
Think of the alley you are in now, the one leading from the airlock straight across, as 1. And then to the right is +1, to the left -1. So if I start giving you directions, that's what you're looking at.
Okay. Shouldn't our aisle be 0?
Shut up.
So you.
She has true
Well,
logic. She gets as far as she can down an idea and doesn't quite
Yeah,
stick the landing.
Just
I'm just saying.
Just to give you an idea, by the way, an average person has an attribute of 4. Okay. Now,
Yes, so she has average logic.
So you have dead average, I think, in your case, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, logic is not one of her
Yeah.
specialities.
So character creation starts you with 3 and everything, and then it goes up as you go through career. So there is the chance to be below average.
Does an
yeah.
average
But it
person
is-
have every stat at 4?
An average person would have everything except reputation and psi at 4.
Okay.
Reputation and psi defaults to 0. Although obviously reputation,
Okay.
other people may have reputations. Obviously, Neckbeard no doubt has a decent reputation, because otherwise you wouldn't have heard of him to know to come after him and get a
Yeah.
bounty.
My rep is 4, so there's something at least.
My rep is 3.
Oh, Psi invisible, by the way.
Well, depending.
Now you
depending
tell
on
me
the-
this. I could have had so much fun with that, and now you tell me this.
Well, she's
Yeah.
a 0.
Lucifer
basically.
is a 0, yeah. They,
Yeah.
they established in the Judge Dredd comics at some point, I'm not sure where, that Dredd is psi rated 00, which basically means that he is essentially just a black hole to
Yep.
psi.
Oh.
Now,
a
they're
size-
not great on continuity, so at the same time, Dredd has been affected by cycles on numerous occasions,
Yep.
despite being rated 00.
Yep.
But every now and then they remember it and drag it back out again and do the whole 00 thing. Lucifer is a 00. It's one of the things if you roll.
I always got the impression it was that you might get hit with area effects, but you wouldn't get hit with targeted.
I suppose if somebody can see you,
Yeah.
then if I'm standing directly in front of you, I know where to aim my side blast.
Yes.
But you're not going to get detected by people using some kind of life sense or things like that. It would be an interesting question of if you died, could Duncan ask you a question?
I was
I honestly
just gonna
don't
ask
know.
that very question. You're reading my mind, Fish. That's the very question I was going to ask.
Yeah. Hello? Hello? Is there anybody there? Hello?
That's the idea that basically you just don't pick up.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
You have
Lynn-
reached the dead body of Lucifer Lopez. I'm afraid no one's here to answer your questions at the moment. If you'd like to leave a message after the scream.
Lucifer's out of her mind right now. So. Okay. So yes, if I head off. Fine, we'll make it 0. Okay?
Thank you. I'm just saying, on a graph, it's like.
Okay. You went to the expensive school. We know.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Shush. They'll hear you.
Fine.
I love
Right,
the idea.
so-
I have literally no idea how old Lucifer is.
Lucifer has no idea how old Lucifer is.
No, Lucifer has not a clue.
Because one of the standard Strontium Dog level careers, you've got SD agent, which is what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And then there is dimensional agent and agent in time, which are Stronts who specialize in, messing around in other dimensions or messing around with time travel. Lucifer messes around with time travel and has this exploit from there that she's a bit ethereal and weirdy, and that ties in with her unaging mutation. With
Yeah.
the result that she's been back and forth through time enough times in her career now that she really has no idea how old she actually is,
No clue.
because that doesn't add up to where she actually should be. Chronologically speaking, she's considerably younger than she actually is in terms of how old she's aged. But she's not visibly aging anyway, so
Yeah.
there's no way to tell. It's a bizarre thing. But it works.
Yes.
Right, so first off, I am going to ask for, once again, a group stealth check.
Okay. That's
Because
fine.
you're sneaking towards these guys to ambush them.
This is going to be an
and,
agility.
Again, this is going to be agility and stealth this time, yeah.
Okay.
And again, I don't want to... I'm not going to be mean and say that you all have to make individual stealth checks for this, because you're moving as a team and aiding each other, so I'm going to allow...
Trip stomping in annoyance.
14.
Oh, phew.
14.
Okay.
Okay, so two of you are stealthy, and you managed to although Trip is not being particularly stealthy, this is mainly because Trip is muttering about what's wrong with your classification and labelling system, and you managed to hiss at Trip enough to shut them up.
Yeah, I caught something about state schools. I think.
I mean, honestly, it's like they've never drawn a scatterplot.
He definitely went to what's left of Oxford.
What's left of?
Well, it's near a river. It's probably flooded. They now punt on the playing fields.
Yeah,
now-
it's no longer Oxford. It's more like Oxswim.
Yes.
Sorry.
Ox blood.
Now
Yes.
there is the question, though, in this day and age of mass extinction and mutation, what the hell is an ox?
Oh.
Good
Okay,
point.
Now I want
Right,
to
so
find out.
sneaking ahead with Lucifer guiding you.
Yep. Voice from
She's
above.
able to push you towards the channel that whoever is coming through is actually heading towards, and indeed is able to scout ahead well enough using a combination of echolocation and height
Yeah.
to be able to see that there are two what you would take to be space pirates.
Uh-huh.
They're wearing much clunkier looking suits. Their helmets are open at the moment.
Uh-huh.
But their suits look to be armoured and much more rough and ready, not like the vacuum suits that you've found here
Yeah.
that you're carrying. And each of them is carrying a stormer.
Ooh.
So you're guessing they're not crew.
Right.
They also, each of them has a torch, flashlight,
Right.
taped to underneath the barrel of the stormer, and they're sweeping that ahead as they go. So from up above, it's actually really easy for you to see where they're going because you can see the light bleeding up.
Yeah.
And as you guide the other two close enough, you can find yourself in a position where you can see the light coming forward ahead of them. So you know well in advance where they're coming.
It's a tower assault game. It's great.
And yeah, there are two of them, and they're sweeping their way through this cargo hold.
How close together are they?
They're quite close together. They're leapfrogging, but they're leapfrogging like people who may have played a video game once, rather than people who actually have military training.
Okay.
They're doing it quite
Right.
badly, but they are one's moving forward, and while the other one covers, and then the other one moves forward. But from up above, using echolocation, you can tell that what they're doing is they're doing it very poorly. If let's say I am Pirate A and I have my effectively plasma shotgun,
Yeah.
and I'm pointing it down the narrow corridor ahead of me while Pirate B moves forward. And there's no way I can fire without shooting my friend.
Ah.
So, although they are ostensibly covering each other as they move forward, they really aren't.
Right. Okay, I'm going to try and manoeuvre Trip and Duncan into side passages either side of these two.
Yeah.
And I'm going to attempt to nuke this fight from the start. Not with a pocket nuke, because I haven't got a pocket nuke, because I can afford a pocket nuke.
Yes, we know.
I want a pocket nuke. 25d6 damage.
Oh, ship, how did you do that? I set off a nuke in the cargo hold. When you say safe, do you mean destroyed?
Well, the pirates don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
They can claim on the insurance, it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. What the hell? And
So you're basically putting
I'm putting a stasis
Trip and
round.
Duncan
Yeah.
on either side, in the side corridors of the junction
Yep.
that they're heading towards.
Yep.
But then you're going to sneak up above and fire stasis round down.
Yeah, straight down.
Yeah.
See if I can get both
Right.
of them.
So
And yeah, Trip.
we are in a position of working out whether or not you have an ambush.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's first, right, make attribute checks if appropriate for access to the ambush turn. If the group succeeds, all members get to take one action before the combat begins. All actions in the ambush turn occur simultaneously. So
Okay.
I'm going to go with another. That since it says if the group succeeds, that
Uh-huh.
to me says that
Yeah.
it's a group check.
Yeah.
So you either succeed or fail as a group.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure that somewhere there is a detailed description of how you get the ambush round, but I've not yet found it, so I'm just going to go with that interpretation.
I've just gone to
And-
encoding overloaded. Hang on a sec.
Ooh.
Okay, we're clear.
Okay. Tactics would not have any advantage in this situation, would it?
Right, I'm going
I
to say
have a-
yes.
I have a three in
Tactics
tactics.
absolutely would.
Yay! I have
Tactics also gives you a bonus on your initiative roll, which is already, I think I already factored it in, provided that I remembered.
Okay.
So I am going to make this, as I said, it says attribute check. Well, so maybe not a stealth check. Maybe it is just an attribute check to not be caught by surprise when things actually happen.
Okay.
In which case, I'm going to go with this as an intuition check. You've snuck into position. You've done the stealth to get set up, but you all need to actually go at the right time as you step in and fire off the stasis.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, yeah, I'm going to go with this as an intuition, but I will give tactics
Does perception help?
applicable to this.
I was about to ask the same thing. Well
think
done,
I
Light.
am going to say no for perception because there's not really anything to see as such. It's just going at the right time.
And
essentially.
unfortunately, this is not a high noon situation.
This is not a high noon situation. You're not doing the stare down. You could have done. You could have worked this differently and maybe arranged things so that you had Duncan and Trip on either side of the cross, and then you in the third position. So they have to come between Duncan and Trip to come towards you, and you stare them down. And when they attack, everyone just.
But as it
goes in
is,
on them.
I'm standing up on top of the things. So
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So
I'm
your-
aiming.
your
I'm using
shot-
aim. Sorry. I'm
Now we're
making.
starting to get into interesting. You have to make life awkward before I've run something like some nice simple combat to figure it out. And then
Yes.
you
Yeah.
can't wait.
No.
So okay. I love the description. Aim. This is identical to the feint exploit, but for ranged combat. Thank you. Now I have to look up feint.
This is exactly the same as
Like
me.
melee combat. Right, so okay, the rest of the description is just all we need. It grants +1 d6 bonus to an attack roll taken in the same turn.
Mhm.
The attack action must come immediately after the aiming action. All characters get either the aim or feint exploit for free. So, yeah, I'm going to have to allow this, even though rules as written, I don't think I can. An ambush.
Sorry.
An ambush round, all members get to take one action.
Yeah.
So, by definition, this means that once you're in combat, you can aim and get the bonus, but you can't aim to start combat because you only get one action in an ambush round. It's a little bit confusing. So, yeah, what I'm going to say is we're not even in the ambush round yet.
Okay.
You're aiming and shooting, and that will trigger the ambush round, and
Right.
we'll roll to see who gets if people get to act in the ambush.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
if you do, you'll each get an action after you fire the stasis bubble and before initiative.
Right.
If you fail the group check for the ambush round, then we go stasis bubble straight through.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the stasis shot comes off first, and with the +1 d6 bonus for
Yeah.
the aim exploit. Yes.
That has. I think
So
that's
let's
going to be
do
your
that
indication.
first. Then let's make the.
Are you guys okay with that?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm as new to the system as anyone else, so I'm quite happy to go
Yeah,
with it.
we're all
Okay.
just trying
Yeah.
to figure our way through this. It's got rules for things like Overwatch and suppressive fire, so yeah, it's actually got a quite chonky combat system in
Okay.
this. There's a sidebar somewhere on Theatre of the Mind combat. Did you hear that? I did it. I said Theatre of the Mind without doing the stupid voice.
Yeah,
I
don't
can't believe it.
mind.
Eventually.
I'm really difficult at that, just because
Yeah.
I find it a very pretentious term.
Yeah, I know.
When I started gaming in AD&D First Edition, or in fact, basic D&D before AD&D First Edition, we did a lot of Theatre of the Mind combat, but the term hadn't been coined yet, so we just called it combat.
Fair.
So yeah, a lot of the combat system we probably won't be using because it's the chunky stuff. But there are, if you want to do something like Overwatch or suppressive fire or that kind of stuff, let me know and I can check and see whether we have rules for it, because we quite possibly do.
Would this count as Overwatch? I mean, I'm hoping it doesn't.
Yes. For what you're doing certainly isn't. But for example, could the other two have Overwatch set up on the corridor so that if you fail to stasis them and they run past, Overwatch might trigger? Let's have a quick look and see how Overwatch works in this. When you choose to enter Overwatch, you wait ready with a ranged weapon to fire on any targets which make themselves available. Usually this means targets which break cover and enter your line of sight. You enter Overwatch in your turn and remain in Overwatch until the start of your next turn. You may only fire on a given target once during a turn. When on Overwatch, you may only fire when the target has 0 cover. The shot interrupts his turn at the earliest point possible. So yeah, it's reasonable to assume that if the other two are ready, waiting for you to trigger the fight, with their weapons aimed at that, they are in Overwatch by default, whether or not the rules say they are or not. So yeah, looks like the Overwatch rules are pretty much just a description of the fact that you can do it,
Okay.
and the fact that if you fire, the maximum number of targets you can fire upon during a turn when in Overwatch is equal to your intuition attribute. Each subsequent target beyond the first takes a -1d6 penalty to hit. So interesting that you can actually make multiple shots when in Overwatch, as different as targets run through. So you could, in fact, if Lopez misses completely and they run forward, you could each shoot at both of them, but the second one would take a -1d6 to hit. So that's interesting, because a lot of systems that use Overwatch only let you fire once.
Yeah.
As this is a ambush situation and we're attempting a non-death takedown, I've got my grenade ready.
I'm so glad I'm up here. Nice.
It's probably only got about a 10-foot range on it. Radius, rather.
Yeah, but 10-foot range. It's the fireball problem. We're in a really narrow corridor, and it's 10 cubic feet of.
Gases don't really work that way.
Well, let's hope. Yeah.
The thing is, most of it would just go up, so I'll be fine.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Reconsiders her first action. Okay. Right then.
Can you use aim when throwing a grenade?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, you just get the +1d6 on making sure you get it in position properly.
Does the game have full shots?
I think it does. Yeah, because my lucky shot has you always manage to strike the most vulnerable part of the foe. I think you must have cool shots.
Excellent.
I've not found anything on cool shots as yet. I think that such things, however, would come into the
They
spending
do exist.
thing I was talking about earlier on. So just look at two parts of spending which are
It's
relevant.
in Judge
to this.
Dredd.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking for the combat rules.
Okay, making a cool shot, page 141.
It's handy having two people with the
So-
rule set.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. To let you know, and two people have to have the rule set, because I bought Drutt Strontium Dog, and Strontium Dog requires Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
And I cheated to get hold of Strontium Dog myself, because what I did is I bought the bundle of the PDF plus the rulebook and gave the rulebook to Drutt. So I kept the PDF for me, so I own it.
Yes.
So just so that you know, before making an attack roll, you can choose to spend 2 of your dice for an extra die of damage. In fact, you can 2 dice for each extra die of damage you wish to do. Now, in your case, you've not got that big a dice pool.
Yeah.
But if you're really, if you're Judge Dredd and you've got all the dice in the world, you say, right, I'm just going to ditch off 8 of these and get +4d6 of damage. And you can also spend dice on knockdowns, disarms, blinding attacks, trips, arm locks, and many more effects.
Wow. Okay.
So all kinds of shit that you can spend dice from your dice pool on, effectively taking a penalty to hit in order to get effect if you do it. But let's stick with nice, simple things for the moment.
I'm
You
slightly
get +1d6. You're rolling your agility plus pistols.
Yep.
+1d6.
Yeah, give me a sec. I've got to A, do some maths, and B, just check something. Right. Pistols is 2.
So you get 4 dice normally on agility plus pistols.
Yeah.
So you're at 5
so
dice.
I'm 5d6. Unfortunately, I've got Dreadlock Holiday going through my head, and I'm a bit worried about this. Because now I'm just seeing the pirates walking like that guy at the start of the video.
If you walk like that while carrying a stormer, someone's going to get hurt.
Memo, we'll drop that into the music channel later. Oh, for God's sake.
Uh-oh.
Okay. 11, 15, 19, 23.
Holy heck.
Now,
Nice.
If you're going
Critical
to do
successes.
a thing...
I mean, I don't know whether this is a relevant situation for a critical success, but I should explain critical successes because it has nothing to do with the total that you rolled.
Okay.
If a 666 is rolled when making an attribute check, and the check is one which succeeds, a critical success takes place. So that sounded like a big number. Did you get 3 6s?
Hang on. That was a 5.
And it's any 3 6s out of your entire die pool. So obviously, the bigger your die pool, the more chance you've got of critical, because you just need any of those.
No, I only got 2.
Dice to come up.
I got 2 6s.
Okay.
Damn.
I hate being honest.
I know.
So
It would be so easy to go,
Okay.
yes.
So yeah, I mean, on a critical success, obviously you get a critical
Yeah.
success. It does say if there's no obvious extraordinary success level for a given attribute check, the character simply gains a bonus luck die in their luck pool, which is quite a neat way of doing things. If you I can't think of anything that would do for a critical, so have a luck die.
Given how little luck I have, that would be awesome.
Yeah. On a combat attack roll, a critical success inflicts one or more conditions on the target depending on the damage type.
Okay.
So, what are the mechanics on your stasis
The
buggy?
mechanics on stasis are... Page
And is it an
15.
area effect, or is it a...
I need to double check this with
That's the
you. I
target.
think it is. So... sorry. It's... Oh, no, I'm going the wrong way. Dipstick. Okay, stasis. This ammunition pops a stasis bubble around the target. See stasis, page 43. Oh, for God's sake.
Well, at
Fine.
least it gives you a page reference.
It does, yes. Oh, no, it's very, very good for page references. Stasis, a beam variant which projects a stasis bubble around the target, completely incapacitating them until the effect wears off. This is a non-lethal attack which inflicts the restrained condition.
Okay. This is kind of big on conditions.
Yeah.
This game.
Now, the grenades, a stasis grenade does inflict like a 10-foot
Yeah,
radius.
So
I think this looks rather like it's going to just be one.
So yeah, so you're just going for the obvious thing here is to go for the one at the back.
Yeah.
Because the one at the front, his reaction if he's trying to get away from you is going to be to run into the ambush
Yes.
set up by
And,
your friends.
and
who
if
are
he's
on Overwatch.
stupid, is going to turn around and go, what? And then can get
Yeah.
shot in the back by my friends who are on Overwatch.
Okay, so I'm going to give you, the choice at this point. You've stasis the guy at the back. That's working. Do you want to roll for an ambush turn? In which case you each get an action before initiative is rolled, or do you want to rely on your actual ambush working without the need for an ambush turn, and just rely on the Overwatch to do the job?
I kind of want to try for the ambush. What do you think, guys?
That's fine with me.
I want to see.
Basically comes down to whether you two want to break your Overwatch and move in, or whether you'd rather wait and let them come to you. Because ambush turn is really you moving in, isn't it? No
Yeah.
ambush turn. is
Oh, in
you
that
waiting.
case, you're set up on Overwatch. We prepped this, so yeah, you guys may as well just
Let the ambush do its
let
thing.
the ambush do its thing
Yeah.
instead of going for a specific ambush term.
Okay.
And these channels between containers, as I described them earlier, are narrow enough that with a guy in stasis in the channel,
He
he
ain't going
can't
then.
go back that way.
Yeah.
So he's got to either just stand there and blast away at you, or run forward into the ambush. So in that case, we are on to initiative. Hopefully, everybody's initiatives have been sorted out properly. It's on the main page of the character sheet.
Yes.
It is actually based on your intuition dice, plus certain skills will improve initiative tactics, for example. So in the case of Trip, you should find that your initiative is one higher than your intuition dice, because you've got the tactic die added on as well.
That is
And again, you can either roll the dice manually or use the roller in Fantasy Grounds. I'm happy either way. I'm hoping that if you roll initiative in Fantasy Grounds, it will add it into the...
14.
I'm glad I've already gone.
Okay.
Manually give an initiative of 14 to Duncan. I'd better roll Lauren's initiative. And what was Lucifer?
9. I rolled in.
Oh, you've already you rolled it in the thing.
I figured that if it was going to add to the tracker.
I
Okay.
didn't think of that.
Now, I mean, I can manually put a number in
Yeah.
if you roll it, which I have done for you.
Thank you.
It's just obviously I don't need to do that if you roll within the game. But if you don't like Fantasy Ground
No.
Die Roller, which we've had issues
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
I'm willing to
Right,
put
let
up with
me-
it for initiative, but for actual skills and anything else.
check the initiative for the one remaining space pirate. He has an initiative of 3d6.
What should we do with the first space pirate? What should we do with the first space pirate?
We actually had a space pirate open here. There we go. Initiative.
We've got an airlock. If we didn't need to keep him alive, we could just stick him outside, but...
There.
Roll his initiative. Right. So, we have initiatives. It doesn't auto arrange the... I've got a button that won't let me... Yeah, it hasn't auto-arranged the characters in order of initiative, which is slightly annoying. Let me see if I can rearrange the manual. Okay, I can't. And strangely, lo and behold, is using the wrong icon in the combat tracker, but there we go. Okay, right, I'll just ignore the fact that the initiative is wrong in the combat tracker. Highest initiative then is Trip.
Okay.
So, you get 2 actions in combat. So, find the bit that tells me you get 2 actions. I remember that. A turn represents a short but unspecified length of time measured in seconds. Most characters have 2 actions to use each turn, unless they have the ability that says otherwise, and some creatures have more. Actions include moving, firing, performing emergency healing, reloading a weapon, aiming or feinting using a sonic power, drawing or holstering a weapon, picking a lock, including opening the door or disarming a trap, drop to prone or crouch, stand from prone, go into Overwatch, open and unlock door or chest, drop an item, pick up an item, perform a scan, shake off a condition. Actually, whatever you want to do is going to count as from 3 to 2 actions.
Okay.
Situation is that we have had a zap that has stasisized one of the pirates. The other pirate has yet to react. You can rush forward and do something, or you can choose to stay in. I mean, you can use your action just to go back into Overwatch in case he runs this way, if you want to. What do you want to do?
Is this a case where I could use Intimidate to try to get the other pirate, the unstasised pirate, to drop their weapon and give up?
Yeah, I would say this absolutely is. So basically, you'd use one of your actions to move forward. Well, probably you could do it purely audibly and yell from where you are. In which case, you could use an action to try and intimidate him. It will be harder not pointing a gun at him where he can see it.
That's what I was thinking.
But you could do it from there. So you can either move forward, point a gun at him so he can see the gun and intimidate him, which would be a slightly easier intimidate. Or you can yell at him to intimidate him, which means that you could use your second action to go back into Overwatch in case it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, the second option is probably more sensible from a survival standpoint. But I think Trip is a little bit caught up in the moment and will basically jump out and go, "Drop it!" and Drutt sighs and is like, "Okay, well, never mind."
The power of the class system compels you.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Oh, I'm trying to think of a properly Bertie Wooster type sort of insult. You can very well just
Rotter.
stop that right now, you rotter.
Rotter is an excellent one. Dirty rotter.
Okay, so yes.
What for weapon, you cad?
Yes, Cad is also an excellent one.
God.
He probably went to Manchester.
Or Red Brick University.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a 1 in Intimidate, and does that go for who? For which
Right.
attributes?
This is going to be charisma, really, isn't it?
Ah,
Intimidate,
charisma.
because it's going to be sort of force of. I mean, if you're doing something like, bending an iron bar to intimidate somebody, then it would be strength and intimidate. But
Yeah.
this kind of thing, I think, is going to be based on your charisma, because you're doing it through sheer force of personality, which I'm fairly certain.
Okay.
Got proper rules for it, if I can just find them.
I'm really enjoying this, by the way.
I hope
I'm trying to
so.
work it.
Oh,
Yeah, I
God.
really want to get this dealt with, and because I don't want to overrun, so we're going to
No.
have to stop
Yeah,
very soon.
yeah.
And I
I'm.
don't want to spend all day looking up how to intimidate somebody.
Well, I'm sorry. If it would be easier, I can change my action. I was just like, oh,
No, see,
I have
this
to
is-
skill. I think.
This is a rule that I need to know. The game has a concept of mental attacks and mental defenses. These guys have a mental defense. So as far as I
You
can
beat
tell,
his
you're
mental
rolling.
defense with a charisma check.
Yeah, you're rolling your charisma plus intimidate against
Okay.
the pirate's mental defense.
Okay. But,
So yeah, roll your charisma plus intimidate.
okay.
Sorry for intuitive.
Not
Wow.
idiots.
And the mental
Okay.
defense for Space Pirate is less than that.
Yay! Okay, now I can adopt the
So-
pirate, right? That's what I did when I yelled at a wolf in Sagas.
You adopt the pirate. Yeah. That's true. That is exactly what you did in
Yeah.
Sagas of Midgard. You yelled at and then adopted a wolf.
I at least fed it when I did that.
So, Drutt, you found the whole mental attack thing.
Yeah.
Did it say? Is there something specific I'm supposed to do with regards to the effects? Or
No, hang on. Sorry. I've lost the page now. Hang on.
I quite like this game system, and I am enjoying this game, but I do find it difficult. For some reason, I find it difficult to find things in the
Yeah.
rulebook.
Yeah.
Right, hang on a minute.
Should have spent more time studying the rules before running.
Yeah. Well, trust us to find the things that you didn't brush up on, and ignore the things that you did. Okay, oh, surely.
Yeah.
Go this way.
D for defences is non-existent. Right, fine. Screw you two. E, F, G, H does not exist. Of course it doesn't. I have a feeling it's not long. That's
I think part of my problem is I have another system that I have been brushing up on at the same time as trying to get my head around this.
Oh.
Is the Hero system, and Hero has effectively has a damage system for things like charisma checks. So in that, you would make your mental attack using your charisma equivalent thereof, and then you would roll your charisma damage against the opponent. So in that case, the more damage you do, the more intimidated they are, and obviously, potentially they might brush it off, or they might immediately fall down. And I've got that in my head, and I can't remember how this game wants to do it.
yeah.
So I think I'm just going to jump straight to right.
I think
He
he's
is
afraid.
intimidated.
I have a feeling, yeah, he is afraid. I think you've done mental damage to him, but I could be wrong.
Yay. Sorry, I shouldn't yay that. But
Oh yeah, you should.
still.
Why the devil not?
So the afraid condition, target displays fear towards the attacker, cannot approach the source of fear, must flee the source of fear, or simply cower if that's not possible.
Coward
So
is
let's
fine.
assume that yes, you have inflicted an afraid condition.
Class warfare at its finest.
Peasant.
Yeah, no, I don't think technically he should be afraid. He should be afraid on a critical success.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
metal?
He just feels like he should be, tugging his clothes off.
So-
Or
He's
Yeah.
not actually suffering. He's intimidated, but he's not actually suffering the condition, which kind of makes more sense.
Okay.
It's less, he has more say in it. He's intimidated, but he's not just immediately going straight into
Yeah.
panic. So I think what he is going to do is, well, he's not going to do anything until his initiative, which isn't
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
So next initiative is Duncan. In fact, no, you've got a second action. No, you moved forward and
Oh,
then did
yeah.
that, so you've used your two
I
actions.
moved,
Yes,
yeah.
you're now. So yeah, Trip is now standing in the opening where your Overwatch is pointing, and has yelled, "Drop it!" to the pirate on the other side. What are you going to do?
So aim effectively gives me.
Aim
+1.
gives you plus 1d6 to your attack, yeah. There is a rule for firing into melee in this, just so that you know, should you find yourself needing it. And that is on one of these pages. I was looking at it just a moment ago. There is a penalty. I think it's 2d6 for firing into melee. Unless you have the appropriate exploit that saves you from that penalty, which I don't believe you do.
I don't know.
No, I think I do.
Oh, there we go. Firing into melee minus 2d6. That would work.
Because I suppose yes, because I'd be shooting again down this narrow corridor past.
Yeah, I
Trip.
mean, if you
I'd be shooting in-
spend your first action to move up alongside Trip, then you're just going to be firing past them and not firing into melee, because it will be the other way around, really, essentially, to all intents and purposes.
Yeah. How far
You can shoot
can
past
one
them
move?
absolutely fine. But if you stay where you are on Overwatch, for example, and the pirate runs forward, you would be firing into melee if you shot them when they tried
Yeah.
to get it to...
Can I reach the pirate in one round and still do something?
He's not that far away, is he?
It's not that far, no. What is Duncan's speed? Duncan's speed is 6. So... What the hell? I'm going to say yes.
And these suits, have I seen these suits before? Do I know roughly how these suits work?
Roughly. It's basically just an armoured spacesuit. So...
Spacesuits tend to have a button on the outside to activate the visor because the pads are all the gloves are all.
Yeah,
Big
this
and
is,
chunky,
this
yeah.
is true.
So if I was to run up, slam the grenade in there, and just push the button,
Oh, that is absolute genius.
You're
I
wearing the other
love that
suit.
idea.
Because this one's not going to be
love
fit for
that
you.
idea.
No, that's going to need a deep clean.
I'm so glad I already have my suit. Yes.
So,
It's not fashionable, but it's just not-
right, how I'm going to do this, I'm going to call that... There's a mechanic, so it makes sense to use the mechanic. I'm going to call that a spend, essentially.
Yeah.
So you're going to run up and make a melee attack, and I'm going to say that you spend 2 dice, so roll 2 dice less than you otherwise would have done. And if you still succeed, that will both put the grenade in and close the visor.
Oh, that's
so
horrible.
the spend will be to get the visor closed.
Oh, you're evil.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
so the melee
I
is done,
love
or the
it.
brawling is done
So-
of.
That is going to be brawling, and in this case, I'm going to call it brawling and agility, because you're not going for power, you're going for accuracy, so
Right.
strength doesn't make
I'm
sense.
dropping my remaining luck points.
Okay.
11.
Oh, that's got to do it.
Let me check the melee defense of a space pirate. And I'm going to give him a penalty for the fact that he is intimidated. And I'm going to say that 11 is good enough.
Yes.
So yeah, you
Oh my god.
dash round the corner, ducking underneath Trip's gun, and
Oh my god.
in a
That's
in a bizarre low altitude bizarre low altitude basketball thing, you kind of dunk the grenade in and then slap the control with the other hand. The visor slams shut on a look of astonished terror, and then he vanishes behind the concentrated cloud of gas
Oh god, does he say who turned out
and
the lights?
sinks slowly to the ground. Okay, this is...
I love this game.
This is not where I was going to end. It's not where I had planned to end this session, but I think it is as good a place as any. You have captured 2 pirates, which means that once you air one of them out, you've got 2 armored spacesuits plus 2 regular spacesuits, which means you've got enough for all 4 of you now.
Best way to do this, we take it back to the airlock, vent the gas out of the airlock.
Yeah, we'll do we will do a bit of a
jump cut.
A jump cut, yeah, and we will start the next session with you arriving at the airlock of the Mutiny.
Okay, that's fair.
So we will start next session with you boarding the Mutiny rather than play through the bits in between, which is just going to be a boring go through the airlock, and make you make a couple of rolls to spacewalk across.
Yeah.
We'll just assume that all happens fine, and we'll start the next issue on the far side.
Oh, I love that. That was beautiful.
That was brilliant. That really was.
That was a gorgeous thing.
I need to look up how the XP system in this works, because if there are bonus XPs for doing cool stuff, then you so earn some.
Agreed. Oh my god. I was just so proud of myself for remembering that I had a skill. And you do that.
I mean,
thank you all for playing.
You pushed him into submission.
I slam dunked him into the ground.
Meanwhile, his mate's there going,
yeah,
like the end of Police Squad. And we've lost more.
Absolutely. Smoke me a pilot. We'll be back for bounty. Oh yeah.
Happy birthday, Drutt.
Thank you.
Yes.
I
will say, despite the problems that I've had finding things in the rulebook and the fact that we really don't know the system, my initial impression of the What's Old is New system is that yes, it is perfectly playable and quite a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, this probably comes into my recommendations for people wanting a nice. I'm not going to call it a universal system because it's not. It's multiple games.
Yeah, it's more like GURPS in that regard.
Well, unlike GURPS rewrites the rules for each genre. The idea behind WOIN was that they presented you with the specific rules for that genre rather than changing anything. So if you've got all 3 books, if you want to make a science fantasy campaign, for example, you pick up new and you pick up old, and you decide which elements of which book you're going to be using, and you don't really need to change anything. You can just factor in the ones that you want and get your science fantasy campaign. The only thing you might need to change is you might need to create specific science fantasy careers, because wizard isn't going to be quite right. I would imagine for space wizard. Oh dear. I'm enjoying this so far, and a lot of that enjoyment is the players that I have been playing with, so thank you all for playing. We will be finishing this scenario next week, and hopefully next week Shard Angel will be able to join us, and Lauren will suddenly become a lot more active than they are at the moment.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you so
Um,
much. This has been wonderful.
That's it for today. I hope that those of you viewing, have enjoyed it. I hope it's given you an idea of how the WOIN system works, and maybe an idea of how the Strontium Dog universe is, although this is very much a closed environment in this game. Next week we will be finishing this off, and then we get back into our regular rotation of whatever comes up.
I believe that's Cyberpunk after
but that doesn't matter. What's important is that next week we're playing bigger.
Yes.
Some of our players are also streamers. So I'll go in the same order. I don't know what order you are on stream because I can't see that. I'll go in the same order I've got you on my screen. Nightbites, what have you got coming up this week?
So Tuesday, Thursday, I will be back in the drum cave playing drums for viewer requests, and then Saturday back into Elite Dangerous, flying probably a spaceship of some sort to maybe rescue some people if they need rescuing. Generally being
Maybe
a big
fight some
damn
space
hero.
pirates.
Yes.
Yes.
Dear Mr. Braben, can we have rules for throwing a grenade into somebody's suit and then closing the visor, please? Thank you.
I shall have a look, see if that is something exists to do that in the EDRPG.
It's got to. If it doesn't, it should do.
It might.
Yes.
I should check my copy. Drutt Cup.
Do you want to do
I know
Moliere
you haven't-
first?
Yeah,
Because
okay,
I
we'll
want
do
to
Moliere
finish
first,
with.
because you've got a
yeah.
big deal coming up, haven't you? So
Okay.
Moliere, what are you going to be doing this week?
Oh, hopefully I will be returning to streaming at some point this week. Probably, if so, it will be Wednesday evening my time, East Coast, Eastern U.S. Whatever time. Life has been very lifey lately, though, so I may not have spoons to do so. I will be here or be back to streaming as soon as possible, though.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Sorry.
Life has a habit of being very lifey, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh God.
I think if life hadn't been so lifey, I would have been better prepared for this session.
Oh, you did an awesome job.
You did.
Thank you. Thank you.
For a system that you've not run before, that we've not played before, it's been a hoot.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh.
And I was also trying to figure out the rule set for Fantasy Grounds. So hopefully Fantasy Grounds will be a little bit more usable by next week, because I will make sure that I know how things work a little bit better.
Yeah.
And Unipuma, Drutt Cup even. What have you got coming up, Neko-chan?
I should be streaming tomorrow on my Monday slot as normal. However, work may blow that out the window. However, the ears are actually significant. On Thursday, I'm doing a stream for the RNLI. Yes, I can do my Catwoman thing. Because they've had a lot of negative press recently for doing their jobs, and frankly, they do a sterling service and need all our support. So,
Bravo.
I have a target of £200, and I will be playing Subnautica from 7:30 PM UK time on Thursday. I'm aiming until midnight or until I fall over. If I get knackered halfway through, I may call people in and ask if they fancy a game of Forbidden Island instead. Halfway through, give me a chance to recover.
Forbidden Island with an RNLI charity stream, that fits the theme very nicely.
It does, doesn't it?
Drowning goes on in that game.
Yeah, and I will be setting stretch goals, threshold goals, more realistically, including persuading me to wear, on stream, provably, one of 6 different sets of cat ears that I have.
What the threshold is to just add another set on top of the one she's already wearing, until eventually we get all 6 sets of cat ears.
I'm not sure that will be shortly before my headset falls off, but duct tape may then be involved. Also, I have some temporary tattoos, so I will be taking donations to apply temporary tattoos. The more expensive donations, well, they will go on my face. Yeah, I'm not necessarily the most stable person on the planet, I have to say. But basically, it's going to be playing a really good game for an excellent cause, and I would appreciate the company. And at the end of the session, I will be giving away a copy of BioShock Remastered, courtesy of Seragil.
Fun game.
So
Game.
it's
Continuing underwater theme.
yes, exactly. Yes, drowning by numbers. So yeah, feel free, please swing by. I'm terrified no one's going to watch, and I think it's a really good cause, and I'd like to raise as much as I possibly can for them. So the Just Giving link will go up during the week, and everything will go through that.
And I'm sure that link will be findable on Club's Twitter and, of course, on the Hobby Gamers International Discord, where you can find all of the players in today's stream, along with a bunch of other people who obviously are extremely cool, otherwise they wouldn't be there, and generally talk about gaming, get involved in on or off stream games like this one, generally hang out and have a good time.
Yes, I realise.
So if you like what we do here, then you can get involved on the Discord. You can also follow the channel if you're not already, so that you get notifications of when we go live. And of course, you can donate to Hobby Gamers International or Him Plays Tabletop, so that you can help us keep the lights on, and that will be used primarily for things like buying necessary art for these games,
rule sets, that sort of thing.
That kind of stuff.
Also, if you are keeping up with Twitch, you'll notice that they have started localized pricing. So that has knocked a little bit off the price of a subscription. So if you're of a mood to subscribe, then it's a little bit cheaper to do so at the moment.
And if you do subscribe, you get that nice little exploding die icon in front of your name, like Drutt and myself.
Yes.
A couple of other people in the list have. And some of you are now subscribed, thanks to an anonymous donor. Thank you.
And you also gain the incredibly disturbing facepalm emote.
Yeah.
Go forth and use it in anyone's stream to scare the living daylights out of them.
Demolish people's mental health. Mental health is very important to us here at Hint Plays, so we're trying to bring it down on every other channel.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for that sub bomb. That's a brilliant way to end the evening.
A great way to end.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, Fish, so much. This has been brilliant.
So thank you again for watching, everybody. And hopefully I will see you next week for the concluding part of A Bounty on the Mutiny.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.